days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. We got breaking news because DJ Jones has signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with Denver Broncos, $20 million of that being guaranteed. So the 49ers possibly top two priorities, Laken Tomlinson earlier, and now DJ Jones, Alex. They're both on the move. The 49ers losing some guys in the interior for both sides of the trenches.
Yeah. Look at the end of the day, right? There's two things that were going to happen in free agency. The Niners were going to be able to re-sign their guys very early, before we got to this tampering period.
Yeah.
Or these guys were going to test, and there was going to be a market. The crazy thing is, right, earlier today, you went and you broke the Laken Tomlinson information with the Jets and what was going on there and what was happening and him signing that big contract with the Jets. As that was going on, BJ Hill re-signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I put that in the chat while it was going on because I was in the middle of work and doing some things. So you hopped on. And when I put that in there and saw the number that BJ Hill got, the $30 million, I was sitting there going, that's DJ Jones. That's exactly what DJ Jones is going to end up making. And the Niners, you're not going to probably pay $10 million a year to bring DJ in. That's just a lot of money. Yeah, there's a market for DJ Jones in a shocking turn of events. And people wanted Laken Tomlinson. People wanted DJ Jones. They were going to pay more than the Niners were going to. And because of that, now you're in that situation. So look, I think now this opens up the door now for other things and other ways for the 49ers to attack this. And I get it. There's a lot of people right now, a lot of 49ers fans freaking out, and Facebook all over the place. Are the Niners going to do anything? John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are asleep at the wheel. They're just letting all these guys go. They're not letting these guys go. They don't have the ability to sign the guys that they want to sign at the money that they want to they sign them for. You could have overpaid for Laken Tomlinson. You could have overpaid for DJ Jones. But if you do that, you're not getting anyone else. And there's a lot of names and people available out there right now in free agency.
Yeah, and they've been preparing for this situation. You know you can't keep everyone. Part of the reason that the Chargers are able to sign everyone is because they had, not that many great players on their team. I seen that one of the defensive players listed amongst the great players is Asante Samuel. They got him in last year's draft. Yeah, they have Derwin James. That's great. You need to add and build your roster that way. The 49ers already had a lot of great players as it was. They were already paying, Trent Williams and Eric Armstead and Fred Warner and George Kittle. So you're not able to go get a lot of high-priced guys. Now, we are hearing that they're in on Stephon Gilmore. So they have money that they're willing to spend. So what they've done is decided where their value is going to be. They've drafted ahead of time. When it came to Laken Tomlinson, it was Aaron Banks. They drafted. They're probably going to sign a couple of low-priced free agents as well, probably Daniel Brunskill and Tom Compton to come in and compete with him, and Jalen Moore for that guard spot. And then defensive line-wise, yeah, it's Javon Kinlaw. And I'm guessing they are expecting Javon Kinlaw to step up. What I think it does do is highlight the fact that 49ers will probably go defensive tackle in the draft. Whether you have Maurice Hurst, Kevin Givens, and those guys, Kinlaw is expected to start, of course. I think you would still go defensive line, let that guy come in and compete, and keep encouraging this room to get better and better. But edge rusher, still something the 49ers could tackle in free agency, and also cornerback. I know Stephon Gilmore and the 49ers showing a lot of interest in him.
Well, yeah, and look, I think the reality of the situation is now, right, is with DJ off the market and the Niners not bringing him in and not re-signing him.
Yeah.
With him getting the money that he just got, on top of the fact that you weren't able to re-sign Laken Tomlinson, you weren't able to bring him back in. He got paid $13 million. You don't bring these two guys in. So now if you're the San Francisco 49ers, right, your goals shift, and maybe your goals had already shifted. Maybe this was always the plan in terms of things you wanted to target if you weren't going to be able to get these guys at the money you wanted. But now you can shift your attention to addressing needs in free agency in other ways and fulfilling your roster in different ways in the draft. And this is what we said, right? This is why we didn't want to focus too early on the draft content, because you may start looking at positions early in draft content saying, hey, we want this, I want this, we need these things, right? We might address these things. And then free agency comes and goes. And at the end of it, you're like, okay, we don't need cornerback. We don't need this. We don't need that. We need to go after and take these things. It looks like everyone who's been talking about drafting a corner, right? Use your second round pick to draft a corner. Use your second round pick to draft a corner. You probably don't need to do that. It looks like the Niners are going to address corner. It seems like they're exhausting all of their options at the cornerback position. they're in on Stephon Gilmore and what that may cost and what that may mean. So if you're in on those things, you're not necessarily in on drafting one in the second round. You may not even be drafting one in the third round. You may be waiting till later, or you're feeling, hey, we could get Stephon Gilmore in here. We can get Jason Verrett back, and if we get Gilmore and Verrett with Emmanuel Mosley, with Ambry Thomas, his development, with Diamado Lenore and his development, we feel like we got a really good room there.
Oh, yeah, I would think so. I mean, if you're going out there with Mosley, Gilmore, and Verrett as your starting corners, you're feeling really confident, and you got Ambry Thomas that would coming off the bench and Diamado Lenore. I think that would make a lot of sense. But yeah, there's a lot of give and take. We had this conversation, Alex, where we were talking about, do you bring back DJ Jones and Arden Key, or do you bring someone in like a Chandler Jones or a Stephon Gilmore? It appears the 49ers are going that route, right? The Stephon Gilmore route, where you can bring some high-priced guy in. Now, they haven't done it yet. There's only the reports that they're at least interested. They're also, according to most insiders, interested in Valdez-Scantling as well. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So those are guys that are possibilities for the 49ers, and that might be where they're willing to spend their money. But DJ Jones is gone. So the ramifications means Kinlaw is for sure moving to nose tackle.
Absolutely.
Kinlaw will be playing the nose tackle position. A guy we target as a possible replacement for DJ Jones was BJ Hill. He got a very similar contract to what DJ Jones got.
Almost identical.
Almost identical. I think the guaranteed money is the only thing that's different.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is one of those things where the market is very big right now, and a lot of teams are going all in and making very splash moves, and that's good. But we'll see what happens a little bit longer. We know this is just the beginning, and we'll see if the 49ers do anything. Now, we were getting prepared to come on air anyways, but we were going to talk about the fact that the Niners hadn't done anything. And I think that
it was going to be literally all quiet on the 49ers front in free agency. That was going to be the stream we were going to actually put up and kind of just surprise everybody with. And instead, Ant, it's breaking DJ Jones bad news, which is not gonna lie, not what I wanted to be doing with you tonight. That's not what I wanted to. Oh, both of us right now are scrolling through our phones too to see if anything else is going to be happening and going on. Because
that's exactly what we're doing.
This is one of those things, right? You just don't expect it to happen. Can't believe you went to play with Russell, says Bomber T. Absolutely. Sir Juju, when is the earliest we'll make a move for a free agent? Look, we were going to talk about that in all quiet on the 49ers front here, on the Western front here in free agency. You and I think both think the most realistic situation for the 49ers was wave 2 guys, right? Wave 2, wave 3, maybe some wave 1 guys at the back end. I would imagine tomorrow is where you're going to start to see maybe some guys being signed.
Yeah.
The reality is, though, right, is I think the Niners are looking at all of their options, looking at the things that they need to do, and they're taking their time.
I think it could be any time.
Do you think any second now?
I think that they could actually trade for one of these guys at any moment, or sign one of these guys at any moment. Because one of the misconceptions, right, is that the Niners can't agree to terms with it. They can agree to terms with as many guys as they want because they can't actually sign and make those contracts official until Wednesday. That gives them plenty of time to restructure, extend, which I'm sure they already have the framework in place with all these players. So they know, hey, if I need to get off from this guy or that guy, I can do it. Plus, we know that they're $9 million over the cap right now. So, but the fact that they're in on Scantling, they're in on Stephon Gilmore, I think shows that they're about to do something. I think it's coming down to these players waiting their options. These players are going to want to get a deal done. I did see that Stephon Gilmore shares an agent with Jimmy Ward.
He does.
So working out an extension for Jimmy Ward and a signing of Stephon Gilmore seems like that makes a lot of sense.
It really does. It makes a ton of sense, and it makes a butt ton of sense. So we'll see. We'll see if that ends up being the case. If that's something that ends up happening and coming through the fold there. It is. It's a bit heartbreaking to lose both DJ and Lincoln, but really not surprised with after hearing the contracts that they are getting. They're getting so much guaranteed money and a lot of good money. DJ's getting $20 million, right? $20 million guaranteed is what it's looking like right now. I think BJ Hills was about 18.5 or 17.5 million of what he was guaranteed over 3 years. There's a lot of teams that are doing this right now. They're making moves. They're paying money. And I know a lot of people right now are going, the Niners are cheap when it comes to free agency. This is all Jimmy Garoppolo's fault because we have no cap space. But the reality is, right, and you just brought this up and talked about this, Ant, there is nothing preventing the Niners from spending an additional $20-30 million right now and going $30 million over the cap, $36 million over the cap, and just making moves and doing what they need to do and getting themselves to a point where they go, hey, all right, we're at Wednesday. We got 40 minutes here before we have to be on the salary cap. We've made some restructurings. We've done some extensions. We're $25.9 million away from getting to the cap. Nobody's trading for Jimmy. all right, looks like we're cutting him. I mean, if the Niners really wanted to bring all of these guys in and felt this was the best way to build the team, the front office felt that way, they felt these guys that was the best option, the Niners could just do that, and they still could do that, right? I mean, because it happened at any moment where they decide to sign.
All they'd have to do is take whatever deal the Colts have on the table.
That's also true.
Let's be honest. The Colts have a deal on the table. Frank Reich.
It looks like just a second-round pick right now.
Well, Frank Reich, there's a second. I think they want 2 twos. I think there's a second and like a fourth.
Okay.
But Ballard and Frank Reich cannot afford to go through they're going to have Pickett play quarterback for them. You seen what Darius Leonard already said. He's frustrated with the quarterback situation. There are players there that feel they have a championship caliber football
5
team.
5 years, 5 quarterbacks.
And you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback. Those two guys wouldn't make it. There would be a new regime that would be having this team. So they can't do that. They need a veteran quarterback. Ballard made the mistake of coming out and saying they need to get a veteran quarterback that can learn soon. Well, guess what? That means they're on the timetable, which means when the 49ers start floating the fact that, we can wait until training camp.
We'll wait till training camp with Jimmy Garoppolo.
No problem. What they're doing is they're all posturing. But the fact Deshaun Watson said the Texans said to the Colts, no, you're not getting Deshaun Watson. One less player. And can you go into that locker room after signing a Jameis Winston or a Marcus Mariota and look at those players and say, we got you the best possible quarterback. We got a guy better than Carson Wentz.
We're trying to win a Super Bowl right now, and Jameis Winston's going to be the guy to do that.
No. And New Orleans or Carolina is going to miss out, and then they're going to jump back into the fray. So Deshaun Watson has met with both teams. He's going to make his decision hopefully tonight or tomorrow. And if he does, one of those teams are coming screaming back into the Jimmy Garoppolo fray because Rule, he's going to be in trouble if he doesn't get a quarterback that can win some football games.
And the Saints are in trouble if they don't get a quarterback who can win some football games. And
they'll probably just go back to Jameis.
They could. They very well could. Beef TV 27, did y'all think we signed back Raheem? It's looking like it's going to be a possibility. With the Miami Dolphins making the move for Chase Edmonds, that means they're probably not as in on Raheem Mostert, which means the Niners have, I would say, the inside track to bring Raheem back on a very contract-friendly deal for the 49ers.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to wait for these first wave guys to go, and then it kind of opens the market. So I like every time I see a player go to one of these teams, the Jets and the Dolphins, I automatically feel better and better about our free agents that coming back. The ones like Jason Verrett, the ones like we're talking about what's the running back, Raheem Mostert. I went blank on Mostert.
I got you.
We want Mostert around for sure. The other interesting thing is nobody assigned Cordero Patterson,
which is interesting. Maybe his market isn't as high.
I think his market's not as high as maybe he was being rated. So Cordero Patterson's still out there, Raheem Mostert being out there. I definitely think those are two targets for the 49ers. Also, Marlon Mack. The funny thing was, Alex, we did our wide receiver video where we talked about free agency for the 49ers. And MVS, Valdez-Scantling was one of the guys we talked about. Yep. John Ross is one of those guys. Will Fuller we talked about. Jakeem Grant we talked about. Grant, Fuller, and Valdez-Scantling have all apparently heard from the 49ers. So they are looking to get somebody that can take the top off the defense.
Appreciate that. Alan, appreciate that. Love the show, guys. Keep it up. We will do that.
Thanks, Alan.
Omar, Diety, I don't know DJ Jones. Is he good? Are you a Denver fan? If you're he is a Denver fan, and that is a Denver Broncos fan.
Yeah.
Omar,
solid.
You just got yourself an incredible interior defensive lineman, and who knows, maybe you're going to be pairing that with Von Miller as well, with Chubb and everything else.
I didn't think about this, but this could actually do something big. So yes, number one, get a DJ Jones jersey because he's that good.
Yes, absolutely. Omar.
He is the number one defensive tackle against the run.
Absolutely,
that's number one. He's gonna be causing problems. Number two, could this, Alex, spell the end of Mike Purcell in Denver?
Yes! Mike Purcell is gone.
Maybe.
Out of Denver, at least. Maybe out of Denver. He'll be on the 90-man roster.
He'll end up in Jacksonville. Yeah, but Omar, that is...
he will end up in... Dude, what is Trent Baalke doing?
Spending money.
Did you see how much money they spent?
Yeah.
On Christian Kirk?
Yeah, it's 17 per with an opportunity for it to go up to 84 million. Yeah, I saw that. That actually happened when I was live. That happened when we were live, and I couldn't believe they gave Christian Kirk that amount of money, but well done, Christian Kirk.
Great. Whoever Christian Kirk... There are two agents that deserve a tip of the hat. Christian Kirk's agent and Kirk Cousins' agent. Holy cow. $203 million guaranteed over the last 6 years for Kirk Cousins.
I think this is just very clear. Just name your son Kirk. He's going to get a big contract.
Christian Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
There you go. Kirk Cousins.
Solid, man.
Kirk Sasania.
Whoa.
Hey,
Kirk Sasania.
He's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, there you go.
Megan, T has been replaced. It's Kirk now. We're going to guarantee that Our kid starts off in a good foot here. Mike Purcell coming back to fill the hole DJ left. Oh, Caleb. Caleb, do you want to get? Hold on. Is that a timeout worthy?
No, he doesn't want to fit. He doesn't fit the system.
Oh, I'm a French Broncos fan.
Nice,
From
very
France.
nice,
impressive, Omar. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? That is going to be one heck of a division, the NFC or the AFC West.
Yeah, they're turning themselves into one heck of a situation. And Brad said earlier, I reckon it's pick 42 from the Colts and potential conditional first pick for Jimmy if he makes it through the season with the Colts in place. Listen, if that were the offer that's on the table, the Niners would be taking that.
What, the second round pick?
Second round pick and potential conditional first round pick.
Yeah, no, I think that's what the 49ers want.
That's what they would like.
I don't think that's what they're getting right now. I think
it's a second and probably a fourth.
If I wouldn't be surprised, it's actually the Wentz deal that they're trying to give him, which is the 2/3 and then the flop of the second round picks.
The 2/3, the flop of the seconds, and the escalator for one of the thirds to a second.
Right. I think
the Niners are going, why would we take that deal when you moved off of Carson?
Yeah, I think
Jimmy's better.
I think they're saying, no, we don't want to flip that pick. We want to get your pick. We want pick 42 that you just got in that trade, and then we want another conditional pick, whether that's a second that can become a first or just a third that can become a second.
Agreed. Christian Kirk's always getting overpaid. Christian Kirk is getting. I mean, listen, they obviously value something there.
Yeah,
it's probably speed, but Trent Baalke also values guys coming off of injury. So we'll see. Look, there's a couple of teams. This is the other thing I don't want to get lost in the shuffle here with 49ers fans.
Okay.
Because a lot of 49ers fans, I'm seeing it all over Facebook, and 49ers Facebook is turning into essentially the panic button. Everyone is hitting the panic button. It's like that episode of SpongeBob where everyone's running around screaming and in the head of SpongeBob and they don't know what's going on. In free agency, when you're a bad football team and you're a bad football team with money, you're going to try and spend that money and bring in big name players to improve said football team. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But there's a lot of teams that find themselves in that boat each and every year. Free agency, we spend money, we try and make it work, we try and bring in guys to fit the scheme and the system, and it pays off some years, and other teams, and for a lot of franchises and organizations, it just doesn't. If you're a team that is coming off of a Super Bowl in 2019, you're a team that's coming off of an NFC Championship game appearance in 2021, you would have been a playoff team and had made potentially another deep run in 2020 if everyone stays healthy with the roster and talent that you have. You're looking at this right now going, we don't need to spend all of the money and bring in all of the big names. You just need a couple. You just need to make, ideally, one splash or bring in a couple of guys at key spots and fill out roster depth in order to get yourself and put yourself right back in the same situation, right? It's subtle changes, it's subtle improvements to the roster, not gigantic, huge changes that are always necessary.
Well, I think we have to wait and take a look, too, of what happens with this money that the 49ers didn't spend. You know, they didn't spend $23 million per season for these two players. If they turn around and use that $23 million to bring in at least one impact player, but maybe 2 or 3 impact players, we could actually reverse our thought process on this entirely. We might actually look back on this and be like, wow, we let those two guys go, but we ended up with this. It's a net positive for us. So the 49ers are now banking on a couple of young guys. Javon Kinlaw, of course, to play defensive tackle, and then Aaron Banks to play guard. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of assurances. I mean, Maurice Hurst is one of those assurances, but I'm sure they're going to go another route as well on the interior defensive line to make sure that you have the guys that you need. And Ndamukong Suh is still out there. Of course, I'm sure he's probably being looked at by Tampa Bay. But
absolutely
you could always do that. There's a connection with Chris Kasarik. So I think there are opportunities for the 49ers to bring in guys that maybe are a little bit cheaper than what we were going to give up, than what we were going to have to pay DJ and Lakin, and then also build around them a better team. Because I told you I was definitely willing to give up, DJ Jones and Arden Key for a Chandler Jones, for instance.
You definitely said that. That was literally this morning, Ant. That was literally this morning.
Yeah.
And look, I don't think you're wrong, and actually, kind of things are lining up to that being potentially the case. We're gonna see. We're gonna see if it actually ends up fulfilling, being the reality of the situation that plays out here in San Francisco with the Niners. The reality right now, for most Niner fans, though, is that there is no moves being made. We've lost 2 key pieces. We lost the 2 guys we needed to re-sign more than anyone else,
right.
And all hope is lost, is what it feels like for some Niner fans, but it's just not the case. There are teams making moves right now. The Chargers are making moves and paying big money for J.C. Jackson. Not as big as I thought it was going to be, but still, over $18 million a year?
No, he's getting $16.5 million.
16.5? I think it could escalate up to 18.
I don't know for sure, but I do know that he's getting $82.5 million over span of the contract.
I think it's 5 years too. That's a lot.
He definitely did not get the money that he was expecting. I know they were saying 25 million. That was nice because I think that kept Stephon Gilmore's market in the 49ers range. The 49ers wanted to keep it under $15 million. The 14 PFF was throwing out there means Stephon Gilmore's within the 49ers striking distance. I'm sure they're trying to get him down to $11 or $12 million a year. That's just smart, prudent business on their part. But yeah, if they could bring him in for that number, I mean, DJ Jones at $10 million or Stephon Gilmore at 12, I'm kicking in the extra couple $1 million to make sure you have a lockdown corner on the outside. That will fundamentally change us. Now, it does mean you have to count on Javon Kinlaw to be the player you drafted him to be.
Accurate.
But if he does, the net positive is huge for the 49ers.
It's a huge jump.
Yeah.
Right? It's a huge jump. So we're going to see. I mean, it's depressing. It's sad to see DJ go because of how impactful he was.
Yeah, I love DJ Jones.
Well, and just how, I mean, think about it, right? Think about the run defense this year, how phenomenal it was at the front. The guys that we had, being able to keep that intact would have been fantastic going into the next season, hoping that you could, right, take care of that and then also turn around and try and grab yourself a corner to shut down on the outside as well. We'll see. Is Gilmore worth 13 or 14 million? Brad, there's going to be teams that value him around that. He's still a guy who's playing at a very high level and is healthy at the moment. So teams would be willing to pay him that, but I don't think Stephon Gilmore necessarily is looking for that. He's talked about having to weigh between getting paid and playing for a team that isn't really going to have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl and still finding a way to get some sort of compensation and be a part of an organization and franchise that's going to put him in the best position to walk away with another ring.
What has he shown that makes him not one of the top cornerbacks in the league?
Other than an injury a couple of years ago.
I mean, the top cornerbacks in the league are getting $16, $15 million. So yeah, he's worth the money. He's a 2-time All-Pro, which means 2 seasons that he played, he was one of the top 2 cornerbacks in the entire league. There's no other corner on the 49ers that have that. That is rare air. I mean, he's literally one of those guys. He would be our Jalen Ramsey. The 49ers have never had this, not since Deion Sanders.
Correct.
We haven't had a lockdown corner like this. That's not what Richard Sherman was. This guy right here can play man coverage. He can play zone. Stephon Gilmore is the ultimate lockdown guy. You want him to take away OBJ? You won't see OBJ until the next week. I mean, that's literally how it is. So adding this guy to the team, he's going to be fully healthy and ready to go. Could fundamentally change how they play defense because now one side of the field doesn't need to be worried about, which means the safeties can give help to the other side of the field. If you are also throwing, the Mostert or Verrett in the slot, that means that these guys have a lot of flexibility. They can switch roles depending on what receiver they're going against. To me, it's a dynamite move if they make it.
Correct. I mean, it allows a lot of flexibility. We know what Mosley can do. He can kind of bounce around a little bit all over the place if you need him to. Verrett can definitely bounce all over the place as well. We'll see. We'll see if this is the option. We'll see if this is the way the Niners go about trying to address this.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of options and a lot of questions. I mean, this isn't the only thing that's going to be happening with the San Francisco 49ers. But man, breaking news.
Well, and I seen Brad said he wasn't doubting him, and it's not that not you, Brad, because I definitely don't think it's you. But there is a kind of a negative on him for some reason.
Well, yeah, 49ers fans for whatever reason wanted J.C. Jackson, which I understand. I love.
You wanted J.C. Jackson.
I love
for a long time, yeah.
Especially before the year started, like when we got the early part of the season. I was talking about potential free agents coming up. We got through week 1 or week 2, and I was like, hey, J.C. Jackson, I think he's going to have a good year, and I like him a lot. The problem is he had a really good year. He had a really good year. They got to a point where we got about halfway through the season, and I was like, dude, this dude's going to be costing money in the offseason, money that we're not going to be able to pay.
Are you actually surprised they're in on one of these top-name corners?
A little bit.
Yeah, I am too.
It's not – this isn't the current 49ers regime's methodology, right? Like, you and I get it. Fans want a corner. You and I get it. We would love to have a shutdown, lockdown corner. But at the end of the day, right, you're not pulling the trigger. I'm not pulling the trigger. The fan base isn't pulling the trigger on what guys to sign. That's your front office, your ownership, right? Your coach, your GM. They're going to be the ones doing that, and they haven't shown that they will do that. They'll go after a big name guy if they can get him at the right price, is what it's always been at the cornerback room, because the identity hasn't been that. So the fact that we kept hearing all this stuff about, hey, corner's important. We're looking at J.C. Jackson. I was like, yeah. Okay, you're looking at J.C. Jackson.
At $16 million, though, if they were willing to go up, maybe they were.
Maybe. At $16 million, we'll see. Now it lends credence to the reports, right? When I heard those reports, I was like, yeah, we're in the conversation, right? at $16 million, we probably actually were in the conversation. But this now also leads credence into Stephon Gilmore being a realistic possibility that the Niners are actually physically looking at. I forget who's the gentleman from Tampa Bay that re-signed with Tampa today. Why am I blanking on this?
Carlton
Davis.
There you go.
He re-signed. It was said the Niners were also talking and reaching out to him. So it's like, okay, all of these things are now leading credence, which means they're getting to a point where they have a couple of guys in mind. And I would imagine in the next, it could be any minute now, it could be tomorrow for all we know. It could be in the middle of the night tonight, and one of these guys might be in San Francisco come tomorrow, which is a good thing for San Francisco. I think improving the cornerback room with a known commodity and immediately taking pressure off of the young guys that you drafted last year and really forcing competition into that room is a positive thing. We saw what competition did for the 49ers quarterback room this year. Jimmy elevated at times and played better, especially with his back against the wall. We saw the improvements from Trey Lance all season long. We saw the mentorship from Nate Sudfeld and the guaranteed money that he just got. I mean, competition last year breeded a lot of great things out of the quarterback room. We're hoping to see even more of those things. Why wouldn't it do the same for the cornerback room?
Yeah, and I think the one thing I'm the most disappointed about 49ers free agency so far is no drunk tweets. We got nothing from Jed York. We got nothing from John Lynch. No one asking if we wanted some juice. I was hoping somebody would ask us if we wanted something. That was the most disappointing.
It's true. What if we re-signed Verrett Gilmore, Chandler Jones, Patterson, and Valdez-Scantling, I think is what he's trying to say, to help under to the Trey area? That's a lot of names.
And that's a lot of money.
A lot of money. I don't know.
I don't know if they have the money for all that.
I mean, you're talking about a situation where Gilmore and Chandler Jones are both going to have to take fairly team-friendly contracts, and then Cordero Patterson.
At least a friendly number this season, yes.
And Cordero Patterson taking, what, 4.5, maybe $5 million?
I don't know if we need Cordero Patterson if we're bringing in Raheem Mostert.
If Mostert's back, I don't think you do.
Yeah, not to go with Elijah Mitchell. You have Trey Sermon, JaMychal Hasty, presumably. I think there's other, like free agents that are going to be a lot cheaper. Philip Lindsay, for instance. We talked about Marlon Mack. Those would be guys that would be interesting. So I think Cordero Patterson is somebody that Shanahan's always wanted to work with, but does the money work out? And would you choose him over Raheem Mostert?
I don't know if I would.
I wouldn't. He's not as dynamic as Raheem Mostert, especially out of the backfield. Raheem Mostert's just, he's so crazy fast. It's amazing.
He is. He's crazy fast, and it really just comes down to health with Raheem. And I know 49ers fans are always like, health is, he's never going to be healthy. We just got to move on. I get it, but at the end of the day, right? Sometimes the devil and the devil you don't know. You know what Raheem Mostert can do when he's there. That's sometimes that's hard to move away from it because the dynamics are next level. We saw it in training camp. We've seen it from him game in and game out when he's been available. You're just hoping he can be, and you're hoping that the surgery is going to be the thing that finally cleans it up because he's been having knee issues for the past couple of seasons and finally got the knee surgery this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think they are making a big name edge rusher this year with the depth at the draft. They might not, Brad. But then again,
possible,
that also could impact the edge market because you have an influx of young edge talent coming in. These guys may be going in with their agents and saying, "Hey, I want this much money," and these teams are going, "Yeah, I'd rather just draft one. I'd rather just draft a guy."
Yeah,
because I can get a guy that I think can become you in 2 or 3 years in the second round of the draft and not pay him that much money. That could impact the draft overall.
Yeah, most definitely. And I see what Clint is saying here. He's talking about Scott Hall. Of course, RIP to Scott Hall.
Absolutely.
We are big Scott Hall fans.
Well, that's why, Clint. We're big Scott Hall fans and big NWO guys, and we've been doing that. We've had the Scott Hall AO for the subscribers for a long time.
It's another one for the good guys, for the subscribers, AO for the super chats. So that's been a little bit of a sad note for today, was that Scott Hall passing at the age of 63 after having 3 heart attacks from complications of surgery. It's just too bad. He's going to be missed. As wrestling fans, of course, that's a tough one. Scott Hall was, for a lot of guys growing up in the 90s, he was one of the coolest dudes alive. So, yeah, thanks for putting that in there, Clint.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and as far as the everything that's going on with the contracts and the money, it's all just about letting it work and letting it happen. And they have numbers they set for each of these guys. Are they willing to stretch those out a little bit? Yeah, of course they are. But bringing in certain guys is like edge rushers, for instance, like you're talking about in the draft. The draft edge rush market is so big. Yeah, maybe a lot of teams are. You also throw in the fact that like Zadarius Smith is in there, Von Miller's in there, Chandler Jones is in there. They have a lot of big name guys, And then there's also the guys that are amongst it, right? You have Dante Fowler, you have Jerry Hughes, you have other guys as well that are, Melvin Ingram.
Justin Houston.
Yeah, there's a ton of guys off the edge that are available that the 49ers might be sitting back and just waiting to see what this market looks like. And if Chandler Jones is asking for $20 million and it's not coming close, well, once it gets to a number that the 49ers feel is somewhat feasible, they might be in on it. So it might be one of those things where they tell the agent, well, let us know if that number gets closer to $12 million and we'll figure this thing out. So all these things are going to play out over time. I'm kind of surprised a lot of these edge rushers didn't come off the board. But now that you think about it, the fact that the draft is so strong, it makes sense.
It does. EJ, Broncos fan, could you guys tell me more about DJ Jones? First off, you're getting a guy that's explosive. Great first step.
Yep.
And incredible arm over move. Incredible arm over move. One of the best ones. And easily one of the best interior defensive linemen in the entire league, and was definitely the best interior lineman in this defensive class, this interior D-line free agency group at slowing down and stopping the run. This is a guy who eats double teams for lunch. You don't double team DJ Jones, because if you double team DJ Jones, you're going to lose. You're going to lose that battle more times than not, because you're not going to get a lot of ground on him. You're not going to get him pushed up to second level. So look, at the end of the day, you guys paid a lot of money for an interior D lineman. You couldn't have paid a better one. In all honesty, Broncos fans, you got yourself a monster on the interior.
Yeah, I think he was one of the main guys in the market, one of the top guys, and he really did great out to the best defensive lineman against the run in the NFL. Him and Eric Armstead together were rough. So DJ Jones is going to do a good job, and the cool thing about him is the explosiveness. For a man his size, he's very explosive. He's able to get upfield with penetration and cause problems in the backfield. So not only can he play on first and second down, but he can play on third down as well and rush the passer. I guarantee there's a lot of those, interior offensive linemen that are like, oh no, here we go. So if Denver has pretty good edge pass rusher there, if they add another one, that defensive line can be very potent, which they're going to need to go against Mahomes and, Justin Herbert and what they're doing. So it seems like all these teams are loading up on defense. And I believe DJ Jones was a solid pickup for Denver, also preventing him from actually landing, with the Chargers or somebody that was willing to spend money, because Kansas City's been pretty quiet as well.
They've been very quiet. But again, another team that was in a great position isn't necessarily have it right. What I've seen is a lot of people going, well, look, the Bengals are making moves. They're signing guys. Yeah, but the Bengals have money. Like they have the ability to do that.
They had a ton of money.
They have a ton of money. It was a young team. So they had a ton of money available to sign guys. And you know what they're doing, Ant? I don't know if they've noticed this. Yes, the Bengals have signed a couple other guys, but they've re-signed a lot of their players to big contract extensions. BJ Hill getting the money that he got from the Cincinnati Bengals tells me the Cincinnati Bengals felt that he was a guy who could be a DJ Jones-esque type player, and is getting close to being that, which is why they paid him the money. They're taking a chance on one of their own. You can do that when you have the cap space available. You're a young team and no one expected you to make a Super Bowl. You can do that, Ant. Just like the Niners did in 2020. Yeah. With all that. The Niners in 2021 re-signed a bunch of guys coming into the 2021 season. We broke the Trent Williams stuff. Trent Williams wasn't supposed to end up back in San Francisco, Ant. We weren't going to have the cap space to re-sign him then. We got him done then. We got Kittle done as well. I've seen a lot of people also talking about, well, the Niners have no money. You still have to re-sign Debo. You still have to re-sign Bosa. You don't have to re-sign Bosa right now. You can wait. You can wait another year to re-sign Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa is sitting there probably going, hey, I'd like to wait one more year because I would prefer to be an all-pro next year and then get paid obscenely outrageous sums of money.
Yeah, I mean, Max Crosby's deal is not what Nick Bosa's deal is going to look like.
It's going to be bigger.
Yeah, his deal is going to be somewhere between $30 and $35 million a year. So they're going to wait. They're going to play off these guys' rookie contract. They can exercise Nick Bosa's rookie extension and our fifth-year option in May. So I think they'll do that. With Deebo Samuel, I think they'd like to work out a deal. But if not, it might be cheaper to franchise him. The way these contracts are going up, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, they're paying Christian Kirk $21 million a year. That means Deebo Samuel's scheduled to make over, about $25 million a year.
Did you see the tweet, Brad? Was it? No. It was SF Nation.
SF Niners.
SF Niners. Debo breaking Debo's contract is 4 years, $497 million. If that's Christian Kirk's contract.
Yeah, even Debo was laughing about that.
You thought that was a good one.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. So I think they do want to work out something Debo, but it's got to work out in their favor. But all that comes second fiddle to making sure that you get the guys that you need right now, because you need to put out a competitive football team. And you have Trey Lance for 4 more years on his rookie pay scale. You need to win a Super Bowl in that time period. That means loading up and going and getting it done. You see the Chargers doing it with Justin Herbert and that team. They're going to load up. Patrick Mahomes got it done 1 year on the rookie pay scale. They haven't been able to get back since. So you have to find creative ways to take advantage of having that dynamic rookie quarterback. And this is the 49ers opportunity.
And 100% is. And Cutback Crew, I put a poll in right now of what you think the 49ers are going to do first here in free agency. We'll let you vote on it. And let us hear what you have to say on this, because there's a lot of interesting things happening. There's a lot of frustrating things happening for the 49ers in free agency right now. But look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of teams making moves, a lot of teams doing stuff. Jarvis Landry available out there as well, getting cut. I'm seeing there's 2 front-runner teams right now. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Saints and... Did you see who the other team was?
For who?
For Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry, I believe the Bills are really in on him.
Bills, I saw Bills, I saw Saints, and I think there's one other team, but I'm not sure who the other one is.
Yeah, I know the Bills were the main team. In fact, when I was watching some stuff on TV today, they were talking about the Bills were the front runners to go ahead and sign him. I believe he's probably going to go in and take that Emmanuel Sanders role, which means Emmanuel Sanders probably won't return to Buffalo, and he'll be an option for somebody else. So yeah, the Jarvis Landry, that was an interesting release. I know we thought it was going to happen, but once they got Amari Cooper, I was like, oh, they're going to try to put this together. Now, there are rumors right now that the Browns are trying to enter the conversation for Deshaun Watson, including putting Baker Mayfield and 2 first-round picks in the mix. Don't know if that's actually going to happen, or if that's something that Deshaun Watson's going to want to hear. I think he is deciding between New Orleans and Carolina, but maybe the Browns are trying to get into the mix late.
It's true. Mr. Swedian, top-rated lineman against the run per PFF. Yeah, we brought that up. We brought that up already. That DJ is that good against the run, because he is that good against the run. And he's a guy who, especially when you moved Eric Armstead to the interior, it basically became problems because teams realized we can no longer double team at the point of attack with both these guys and get push. We're not getting a push anymore, which means linebackers are flying downhill, and the run fits are phenomenal for the 49ers. So they stopped doing that. They stopped double teaming at the point of attack on both guys and just started double teaming one at a time, hoping to get something. And both guys were eating everyone for lunch. And DJ, anytime a double team came, he was winning. And when teams reluctantly decided that Eric Armstead's having himself a day-to-day, I guess it's time to go over there and try and slow him down, then DJ Jones was eating people in the backfield for 4-yard losses.
Yeah, what was nice about both those guys is not only were they very strong, but they were very mobile. They could move. Their lateral quickness was impressive. Those were things that helped them, and their technique as well. DJ Jones is very technical, and he's a very stocky guy. He doesn't have a lot of height, but what he does, he has a lot of power. And when he gets that arm on you, he can throw you out of the way and make something happen. So he's somebody that's impressive. And DJ Jones added a lot. And now we're going to a monster that is Javon Kinlaw. He's going to be moved to the nose tackle spot, and this is going to encourage even more time and playing time from Armstead on the inside. And I like that. I like Armstead on the inside. The question is Ebukam going to be the starting, edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa, or are they going to go out and make a move? We know the poll is going right now. Some people are talking about Chandler Jones, but I think there's a lot of other options as well, and some of them are cheaper. Zadarius Smith being out there, I think, is somewhat enticing.
My heart hurts.
What?
I'm so upset. Former Texan safety Justin Reed intends to sign a 3-year, $31.5 million deal that includes $20 million guaranteed with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow, okay. So they are not in the Tyrann Mathieu. I seen Mathieu was apparently looking at the Raiders.
Jacob Cisneros, thank you for the update, and it is the Chiefs. My goodness.
Wow. Okay. So he's a guy that got the contract he was looking for. They're going younger in that area. The arms race continues. That's one more target for the 49ers off the board. What does that mean for Tart? Because that's one more landing spot off the board. So where is Tyrann Mathieu now? Because Tyrann Mathieu, I think, was believed to be the number 1 safety on the market. We've seen Diggs come off. We've seen Justin Reed come off the board now. Does that mean that Tyrann Mathieu's amount of money that he's going to be getting, is his value now low enough for the 49ers to be entertaining a possibility of the Honey Badger coming to the San Francisco 49ers?
I mean, there's a possibility, but we're going to see. We're going to see what happens there. But no, that's a good signing for the Chiefs. I'm a little surprised they didn't try and re-sign the Honey Badger ant, but they must feel that either they must feel that it's time to move on, or they don't want to have to try and pay that money. I'm not 100% sure.
And then Akash just tweeted out, 49ers should receive multiple 4th-round compensatory picks for losing Laken Tomlinson and DJ Jones.
It should or
yeah,
could?
there is a chart on it. It also depends on what you sign and everything. So there's a possibility they're going to get a couple of compensatory picks from losing both of those players in free agency.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, you got to remember we did get a 7th-round pick for losing C.J. Beathard last year.
How about that?
Yeah, well, we have an extra set. We have a couple extra 7s this year because of it. Yeah.
Well, there's that. Let's look at that. Going young at safety, they are. Joe Vitale here. Pick up that Seattle linebacker, Bobby Wagner.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I'm kind of surprised Bobby Wagner hasn't landed anywhere.
So the fact that Bobby Wagner hasn't landed anywhere, do you think that tends towards maybe some teams that don't necessarily have the cap space or couldn't send him to a big contract that he's actually considering and contemplating those things?
Yeah, I think he's really trying to decide what's the best situation for him. You know, I know that there's been a lot of conversation about the Chargers, but the Chargers have spent so much money now. Do they have enough money to afford him? That's number one. Number two, you have the Los Angeles Rams, who they potentially could go after him, but he's got to decide, would he rather, come up to San Francisco and play in that situation, play with the Rams? I know it's closer to his home. But then you also have Russell Wilson coming out and saying he's trying to recruit him to go to Denver. Maybe a signing of DJ Jones would indicate to Bobby Wagner, hey, we have a shot. If I was him, I would just look at the Chargers, look at the Chiefs, look at that division and be like, do I really want to be here? That seems like a very tough division.
Why do that when I could stay in the NFC West and know that I don't have to compete with 2 other teams?
Yeah.
Right? Because Seattle's not going to be compete with anybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of great players out there, and some of these teams are starting to run out of money. So how much money's out there? Are the 49ers just waiting this out until a bunch of players are within their price range so they can pounce on them? I think that's a possibility. There's players definitely that I would love to have on the football team that are available. The question is how much money are those players going to get?
That is the great question. Bobby is also representing himself, apparently, says Brad Jones.
Well, nice. I mean, that's what worked for Richard Sherman.
No, yeah, it does, and that means the salt levels will play an impact. They will have effect.
Yeah, I think so.
As of now, we do know that there are some salt levels.
I mean, there are advantages to being your own agent. I mean,
you don't have to pay. Yeah, don't pay a percentage.
Well, that's one of it. The other part is you can actually negotiate with the front offices and talk to front offices beforehand. You don't have to go through the other way. The scouts their agents are the only ones that can talk to the front office. You're not allowed to have any communication. If you're representing yourself, you can.
Yaheem the Denite, I can't stand this front office.
Yeah, I think
a lot of people feel that way.
A lot of people are frustrated right now. They're just waiting for the 49ers to make a move, and they haven't done it yet. I think that we just need to kind of be patient, though. Let's wait and see what they do. If they really don't do anything in free agency, they just let players leave, and they don't really address those situations, I think everyone will be, can have that feeling. I just think that we're probably waiting for them to make a move. And once they do, I wonder if, once they make a move, like let's say they do make a signing, how is people's opinions of what the front office is doing going to change depending on what that player is and how much money they give them?
Very true, Ant. The poll right now, too, only 21 votes. There's 67 of you in here right now. Guys, vote in the poll. We want to hear from you on what you think the Niners are going to do first now in free agency. We've lost 2 players already in free agency. We just lost DJ Jones. We've lost a little bit earlier today, Laken Tomlinson going to the Jets. So what are the Niners going to do first for this roster? Are they signing Stephon Gilmore? Are they trading for Frank Clark? Are they signing Chandler Jones? Or are they trading Jimmy G? What's the first thing that's going to happen? And Quest for Six just asked, are we going to go after Gilmore? We talked about this a little bit earlier. We think that is obviously a possibility. They definitely
I think they're in. I think they're in on Gilmore.
So now it's just a matter of whether or not it happens.
Yeah, okay. Because I think there's been several sources from several different angles that have said the 49ers have shown interest in Stephon Gilmore. I think it is the Raiders and the 49ers. And I think there's other teams, of course, that are interested, but I think those are 2 ways. What did Richard Sherman say? He wanted to come out west. Seattle is no longer an option. The other 2 teams down south don't have the money. They went a different route. So what do you have left? You have the Raiders in Las Vegas, and you have the 49ers here in the Bay Area. So those are the options.
Those are the options. That is 100% accurate there. Quest for Six also asked OJ Howard tight end too. We talked about this in our tight end free agency video.
Would love it.
Absolutely, would be fantastic signing.
The fact that he's not signed anywhere means that there's an opportunity. That means his number's staying down. He doesn't want to go back to Tampa Bay. More than likely they're gonna bring back
Gronk is going back. So
you want an opportunity to be able to play OJ Howard with George Kittle. Seems like a bang up combo right there. I would really like that. He has a lot of skills that Kyle Shanahan could use in his offense. Then I would feel comfortable about that tight end room, especially if Charlie Warner was tight end 3.
Oh man, Charlie Warner as tight end 3 makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, Ant, because I do not want that man as tight end 2. Not because I don't like Charlie Warner, but because Charlie Warner is not OJ Howard. He's also not anywhere near George Kittle. So let's get ourselves a legitimate receiving threat at tight end 2, Ant, who's also a big-bodied guy and can block efficiently and effectively. I would love that. Quest for Six. We like that here around the 49ers cutback. Have a lot of teams made moves, or has it been more a few teams spending a lot of money, like Jets, Chargers, Jags? It feels like a little bit of both. It feels like there's a lot of teams who have been re-signing some guys and bringing some guys back into the fold. There's also been some teams cutting some people, and spending a lot of money on a few guys. The Packers are a perfect example of this. They were pretty much right around the cap. They cut Zadarius Smith and freed up the money to get themselves back under the cap, and then went and signed Roquan Smith to a huge contract, and now they're back over the cap, and that's still...
You mean Preston Smith.
Preston Smith. I said Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Preston Smith re-signed him, put themselves back over the cap, and Aaron Rodgers still hasn't signed his contract yet, which means that's going to put them even further. So they still have moves to make.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason you don't sign Aaron Rodgers is because his cap number right now is more friendly than the one he's probably going to get.
True.
So you're waiting on that. You also have Devontae Adams that's going to get a huge contract, and he doesn't want to play on the under the franchise tag. Thank you. Wow. Really struggle with franchise tag. 49ers don't use it, so obviously it's never on my mind.
It's accurate.
But yeah, I think that there are some moves that are going to be out there. But I feel like there has been some teams that have been completely quiet, and then there's been a lot of teams that are going really strong and after it. It seems like the AFC West has been the most heavy, and then also the Miami Dolphins were heavy early on. The Jets were heavy early on, making sure they brought in what they deemed as difference makers. So that doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't. And Gaheem said, is Allen Robinson still available? Yes, he is still available. We'll see what that number ends up being. The problem is with the Christian Kirk signing right now, if you're one of the top name wide receivers, you now have a lot of leverage.
Yeah. I think if you're a wide receiver, you're not going in for a cheap contract. You're waiting to get a lot of money. The fact that over the last 2 free agency periods, the Jacksonville Jaguars have spent over $117 million on wide receivers. Ridiculous.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. A Bronco Stampede. Thank you, 49ers. BJ is a beast.
He really is.
I know you meant DJ, and I'll forgive you, Bronco Stampede. You got plenty of time to get familiar with DJ Jones. And you're right. He is a beast, and you got yourself a wonderful addition there.
Yeah.
You definitely do.
We have nothing but great things to say about DJ Jones. He's a fantastic player. He deserved to get that money that 100%. He got. It's just we weren't going to pay him because we don't value defensive interior linemen to that level to pay him that much money. We pay the edge rushers, and we pay, some other guys. So that just didn't make a lot of sense.
No, it did not. Quest for 6 said bad teams spending like crazy. Other teams like the Chargers signing to get over the top. Agreed. Alan Miller. I feel like certain teams like Jags and Jets have to overpay some of these players above their value. Otherwise, they wouldn't come to their team. Yeah, that's definitely something that factors in, right? That a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah, no, it does. In 2017, that was the 49ers. The 49ers had to overpay to get Pierre Garçon.
It's true.
They had to overpay to get other players to come here because no one wanted to come here. Until you make it a free agent destination, you're going to have to overpay to get players there. And that's why you got Kyle Juszczyk on the contract that he originally had, because you needed to pay him. I mean, he proved his worth, but that's what bad teams have to do to get their team right. And so, yeah, you do overpay at first.
And it's a risk. It's 100% a risk because you don't know if necessarily those guys are going to perform and produce at the same level that they did in the last year of their contract or whatnot. You're always taking chances with guys. You always are. This is what's so baffling for me on guys like George Kittle, that the Niners re-signed, paid a lot of money to, and 49ers fans, a lot of people feel like, hey, it's time to move off this guy. This guy didn't do anything last year. He was statistically number 3 of all tight ends in the league and missed 3 games.
Yeah.
I'm talking, he had like 35 less receptions than Travis Kelce and, oh God, who is the other one that's always, Mark Andrews. He had 35 less receptions. I think it was 400 less yards on 35 less receptions. He averaged more yards per catch, finished with 3 less touchdowns, and finished 3rd in every statistical category. So if you're looking at every statistical category for the 49ers, he dropped off as a receiving threat. No, he did not. No, he didn't. He just didn't do it every single game, and that's what some 49ers fans and some people want, right? When you re-sign a guy to a big contract. You can't always expect those things. You take chance and take risks. The Niners, the risks that they have taken and some of these guys that they've signed and brought in have paid off. I had this conversation with someone earlier today about D Ford. He said the Niners never go after guys and never do anything during this period and never go all in this team. I was like, what was the D Ford? What was that? It didn't pay off. It paid off in 2019. It definitely paid off in 2019. We went to a Super Bowl because D Ford was in that rotation. Did it pan out after 2019? No, it did not. But that's the risk reward that you take with some of these guys. You're going all in trying to build this team. sometimes you hit short-term, sometimes you hit short-term and long-term.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a long-term thing, right? You invest in a guy, he doesn't necessarily pan out right away, but it just is, it is what it is.
Well, and that's why you got to be somewhat prudent. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you make the right decisions. I think that it's one of those things where the Niners go in when they need to go in. And if they go in on Stephon Gilmore, they go in on Chandler Jones, I think that's the equivalent of going in, and making these moves. But every single thing you do in football is kind of one of those crapshoots. You don't know exactly who these players are going to become because, for every Jerry Rice, there's an A.J. Jenkins. And for every Solomon Thomas, there's a Nick Bosa. This is just what happens in the NFL. That's through draft. With free agency, there's a lot of tales the same way. You sign a big-time player, and they never do anything for you. This is one of those things that you take a chance. So, yeah, the 49ers have went out there and take some swings, and some of them have worked out and some of them haven't. We've got to remember, Quan Alexander was a big swing. And though he added a lot of attitude and aggressiveness to the team, he wasn't the linebacker that Fred Warner ended up being, which was, somebody that they drafted and worked with and, helped make better. I think that is a lot of times. Sometimes you have to do it that way.
True. JLA, the comment that everyone needs in their life right now, Ant, it's the first day of tampering, folks.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just day one.
Well, it appears Horst is tampering with you.
He is.
Yeah.
I am mansome. I am mansome.
What is up, Horst?
What's up, Horsty? We are not making any big moves, says Freakstop 49er.
Okay.
We might not.
We might not.
Might not.
It all depends too on what the big moves are.
And what everyone considers a big move, right? Yeah. That's
I mean, if you're saying a first wave guy, it's possible there might not be a first wave guy.
There might not be.
Yeah.
All right, so I found another channel with reasonable discussion and not a bunch of clickbaiter blather. Mr. Sweden, welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to the Cutback crew.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we hope you enjoy. No, there's not a lot of clickbait batter going on here and banter and nonsense and talking about trading your best player for peanuts because clicks and reasons and things and stuff. That's not happening here. Well, we're not going to be doing that. Brad asked a little earlier too, and who do you think is favorite to be the right guard now with Banks probably being left guard?
I think you would have to say Daniel Brunskill. I think Daniel Brunskill, even though he's a restricted free agent, seems to be the most logical choice. Unless Jalen Moore is able to beat him out, I think that's potential.
Quest for Six said that. He said he thinks probably Jalen Moore.
Yeah, I think the problem with Jalen Moore, and I'm going to keep it real, is his run blocking.
It's not good. It's not as good.
It wasn't good enough to beat out Colton McKivitz in the Week 18 against the Rams. So I think that's one of the things everyone needs to remember is he has to improve in that area. Now, can he? Ultimately, yes. He's a tremendous athlete. He's big. He's fast.
True.
He has a lot of ability. He has pretty good hands. The run blocking's not there. So I think it's actually a better possibility right now, and no one's going to want to hear this. But I said this in our other video, and I'm going to say it again. There is a better possibility of Daniel Brunskill and Tom Compton being the starting guards than Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore. I'm not saying
Take a deep breath, cut back. Take a deep breath.
I'm not saying that Banks won't end up starting. I'm just saying if you're talking about tandems, it's a better, in my opinion.
There's a more likely
scenario for Compton and Brunskill to be the starting guards.
True. It's 100% true, and it's really unfortunate. Raymond said R.I.P. to the great Razor Ramon, and Niners will make moves. We always chalk one. We try and chalk them up at the end of the live streams. He said, what was the other thing here? Oh, he thinks Niners are going to be making moves after the Jimmy G trade tomorrow. So Raymond and Emily Jones, they're calling their shot right now.
They think Jimmy's getting traded tomorrow?
They're saying tomorrow it's going to happen. So we're going to see. And Megan is 100% right. If you have not already, if you're not a subscriber to the Cutback right here on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We're trying to make a push, Ant. We're trying to get up to 2,800 by the time we get to the draft. We're trying to get to that range. So subscribe, become the newest member of the Cutback crew today, and help support the channel just by helping us get this content out there so we can have more reasonable discussions like Mr. Sweden says. We want to have those reasonable conversations with people.
Yeah, and Quest for Six brings up, we got Hurst back, let's get Key back. I think now that DJ Jones left, Arden Key is
he's entirely in the realm of
a better chance of possibility because we talked about this. It was kind of an and/or situation. If you bring back DJ Jones, you're probably losing Arden Key. If you bring back Arden Key, you're probably losing DJ Jones. So it wasn't both, it was one or the other. The only way, because if you're planning on bringing both back, you might as well bring in a big-time edge rusher like Zadarius Smith or Chandler Jones for $14 to $15 million. The money would be comparable, but the play would be so much better and so much more dynamic from one of those big-time players.
Forktail just asked, too, you fellas think Key and Hurst can fill Jones' spot? I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think Key and Hurst are going to necessarily be filling Jones' spot. I think Hurst is more likely to be.
And thank you to the new subscribers.
Mr. Sweeney, thank you for the, oh my goodness.
Oh,
and Trent Payne as well.
Thank
Welcome to the
you, Trent
Cutback
Payne.
crew,
Welcome.
both of you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the TCC. No, this is going to be a situation where I don't know if necessarily Hurst is here to necessarily fill the DJ Jones role. It might be more of a rotational thing.
Well, the problem with DJ Jones is Jones plays a 1-tech, so he's a nose tackle. Maurice Hurst plays a 3-tech.
He's going to be more behind Armstead.
Yeah, he's going to be behind Armstead, and what you're going to see is Kinlaw moves over. So now you've got Kevin Givens, that is the backup, over there at the nose tackle position. So you got Kevin Givens and Javon Kinlaw. The question will be, do you bring back Contavious Street now as a cheap option? Do you go another way? We still have Jordan Willis as a free agent. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't sign a defensive lineman, but I think they will pick up a nose tackle in the draft now. So now it's actually a time to look at low budget free agent nose tackles that are available and also nose tackles in the draft, which I didn't think the 49ers were going to go for initially, but now they're definitely on our radar.
It's 100% on the radar. And Clint, we do appreciate you bringing that up a little earlier about the Scott Hall stuff.
Oh, yeah,
and
big
being able to talk about that. We got Hurst back, so we can go get Key. Agreed. What was the other thing here? I saw one other thing. Oh, Mr. Switty in here said, draft a right guard. Any of the guys at the combine are better than Brunskill. This is a feeling. This is a feeling throughout most of 49ers land and 49ers fandom, Antis. They're sick of Daniel Brunskill. They're sick of the inconsistency. They want to move a different direction. And I get that. The likelihood is that Daniel Brunskill is at least going to be back in San Francisco.
I would argue that there's not inconsistency. I think you know exactly what you're going to get from him. It's just some people don't really like the production you get.
They don't like the production. They don't like the fact that, right, Daniel Brunskill versus Aaron Donald is phenomenal, and Daniel Brunskill versus anyone not named Aaron Donald is suspect.
Well, I mean, it is for everyone. When you get in a situation when you play for the 49ers and you don't run the ball well, because here's what's up with this 49ers offensive line. Every single one of them that are there are very good run blockers and suspect pass blockers minus Trent Williams. True. Every single one of them. Trent Williams is A+ in every category, and then the other guys are a lot of times in the pass category, a C, maybe a B-. These guys are just not as good in those areas, but they're really good running the football. So Kyle Shanahan thinks that if we establish the run game, and you notice games that they do, they establish the run game, all of a sudden the pass blocking is so much better. So they have to get that going. So that he's not going to change his scheme on who he's going to bring in. Aaron Banks is the same sort of thing, a dynamic run blocker. Jalen Moore is the guy that's kind of the outside of the picture.
Yes.
He's a guy that's really good in pass blocking who has to develop the run blocking game. Colton McKivitz, really good as a run blocker, has to develop the pass blocking part of his game. This is a consistent thing that they do, and they just expect Chris Forrester to help these guys improve and get better. So I don't think the 49ers are going to change their ways anytime soon.
I agree with you on that. JLE also brought up that Eddie Goldman is on the market. The Bears did release him, and they cut him the other day, so that is still a possibility as well. Earlier, Jess C13 had asked, as a Broncos fan, what does DJ Jones offer our defense? Here's the big thing, Jesse, and it's what he helped offer the 49ers this past season. He's going to allow your defense to be stout against the run with your front seven, which means if you got great linebacker play, your D-line is able to hold up and slow down the run game, you're going to be able to do that with 7 in the box, which means coverage-wise, allows you a lot of flexibility to do a lot of different things. And you do have some young, talented corners out there that you've brought in and taken care of.
Yeah.
So your defense now becomes a little bit more dynamic and diverse in terms of how it can attack teams. And I don't know, I'm sure that, Jess, you know this as a Broncos fan. On the AFC West, you have some very dynamic quarterbacks who can do a lot of different things. So being able to have a defense that isn't predictable, doesn't have to commit an extra guy into the box, that 8th guy into the box, stop the run, makes it a lot more likely that your defense is going to be able to attempt to slow passing games down of other teams and get after the quarterback.
Well, I mean, also, it would really help. They're in on Chandler Jones, and they're, of course, always in on Von Miller.
Accurate.
If they were able to bring one of those guys to rush opposite of Chubb, hello, with DJ Jones on the interior, if he gets singled up an obvious pass downs, he'll get after it. So this guy's dynamic. He's quick. He's versatile. He breaks double teams like no one's business. He will wreak havoc in the AFC because the AFC West does not spend a lot of money on the interior offensive line. DJ Jones is going to live in there. So I'm excited about his opportunities there. I hate to see him go, but I'm glad he's going to land in a situation that hopefully is good for him because I do think Nathaniel Hackett's a good coach, and I think they're going to build something there in Denver.
Agreed with you there, Ant. Agreed with you there. This is really concerning. Philip says, I'm more concerned about the loss of Tomlinson. We could have kept him for 2 years for what Debo will cost us in 2022. Maybe the problem is the Niners were never going to pay more than, you had set that number at about 10 million. I thought the number was closer to about 9 million.
I had 8 million was DJ Jones.
I had 9. You had, that's right. You had DJ Jones was
8, and I had Laken Tomlinson at 9.
9. That's what it was. I had Laken Tomlinson at about 9.5.
Yeah.
Was what I thought it was going to be. So it's unfortunate. Lincoln definitely sucks. It definitely hurts, especially with a young quarterback. You want to try and keep that O-line together. DJ hurts as well, because being able to stop the run and slow down the run and keep those things with your front seven definitely hurts. But you do have Kinlaw, and the Cutback crew has been saying it. I forgot about Kinlaw. You had brought it up as well. If he's developing and he's healthy, you're in a positive situation if you're the 49ers.
I think the problem that so many of us are having, Alex, and I'm going to put myself in the same boat as all the other fans, is Kinlaw's capabilities. I have heard the arguments that he's a lot like Solomon Thomas. The one argument I'll make in favor of Kinlaw, though, is Solomon Thomas just wasn't good enough production-wise. Like, he wasn't a good enough football player. He was a tweener, so he didn't really fit the system. Kinlaw's is not so much that he doesn't have the ability, it's that he can't stay healthy. And I know that is an ability, but I feel like we just haven't seen Kinlaw yet. This is the year. He's either going to show up and we're going to see him, or the 49ers had a complete bust. They missed. They could have had Tristan Wirfs. So this is one of those ones that could come back to bite the 49ers in the butt. But if he shows up in a big way this year, if he does make that ascension, the knee is finally good, he has the ability to be an absolute dynamite nose tackle. Playing next to Armstead and Bosa, if they do, even if it's Ebukam, that is a very solid defensive line. The fact that they're going to have a nice rotation again means he's going to stay more fresh than he possibly could in 2020.
Accurate.
So you would expect Kinlaw to play really good on first and second down against the run. And the times he does play against the third on third and short, you hope he can get after the quarterback. Now, he will not get there in a speed rush type situation. You're going to see him more than likely go with a bull rush, a single arm, and drive that guard into the quarterback. That's what's going to be asked of him. That is one of the situations where I would like to see Arden Key come back, because then you could put Ian Ebukam in and you could take Kinlaw off the field.
Definitely can. You can do all of those things. 100% can. What's a tweener? So, Jan, a tweener is someone who would be playing between two different spots in a position. So in this case, talking about D-line. So this would be a guy who is a tweener between potentially being a defensive end, a guy in our system, a wide 9, playing in that 9 tech, that 7 sort of tech. What we saw this year.
Well, they moved 7 this year, but it was normally wide 9.
It was wide 9, so they're playing outside the tackles, or a guy who's going to be playing where Eric Armstead moved to on the interior, that 3 to 5 technique.
The best way I can describe it is he's too slight and small to play on the interior and not quite quick enough and agile to play on the outside. He doesn't have the pass rushing techniques or able to hold his ground good enough. So he was a tweener. He didn't have the size for it. So it was kind of a weird pick for what they were looking for. I think they got caught up in the moment and thought he was something more than he was. Now, this is the thing about Solomon Thomas. He's a good football player. He just was picked 3rd overall.
We have said this before on the podcast, and Ant is the first one to bring this up. If Solomon Thomas had been taken in the 2nd round, nobody would be saying anything but negative about Solomon Thomas.
Yeah, he would be a nice rotation piece. Like, you would feel confident about Solomon Thomas. But because he was selected 3rd, and in the same draft you had a bunch of quarterbacks that went, it makes the pick just look really cringy. But I think that it's not a reflection on Solomon Thomas. I think he's a good football player. He's just not an absolute great one like Nick Bosa was, who was taken 2nd overall.
Correct. Nick Bosa, home run. Solomon Thomas. Wondering how we got here and why we did what we did. Yaheem said, I thought we was getting CeeDee Lamb. Did you think that the Cowboys were just going to start selling all their wideouts? It looks like they're going to be paying, too, Michael Gallup a butt ton of money. The reported contract, Dan, is kind of ridiculous. Did you see it? It was like 4 years, $64 million?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with Dallas, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I know they did re-up Lawrence as well. They brought him back on a nice big contract.
Trying to move off of Leo Collins?
Yeah, I can't figure out what they're doing there. They lost Xavier Woods out of the secondary. They're probably going to lose more guys. This is an interesting thing. Are they going to bring back Van Der Esch? I don't know. So to me, Dallas is kind of up in the air right now, and I think that's good for the 49ers. I know a lot of people are talking about Tom Brady came back to Tampa, but I think we're going to get a week in Tampa. This is a wide open NFC.
Let's not forget also, I was talking to my buddy Drew about this because he's excited. He's a Bucs fan. He's excited, Ant. He's ecstatic about Tom Brady returning.
He's talking about when they drafted Lamb.
Oh, when we took Kinlaw. Gotcha. You thought we were going CeeDee Lamb when we took Kinlaw. Gotcha.
I think in that moment a lot of people
thought.
Did.
Yeah. I thought it could be anything.
I thought it was Jerry Jeudy, because Jeudy went the next. Oh no, it was Tristan Wirfs and then Jerry Jeudy 15th, I believe.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be Jerry Jeudy, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
It was Kinlaw, and the signs were pointing towards Kinlaw. You trade Buckner away. The whole thing makes sense. But go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
You're good. You're not wrong there, my guy. But look, I think at the end of the day too, right now with the Niners is you just got a lot of question marks up in the air. There's a lot of things we want to see. There's a lot of things you want to see happening. And it's just be interesting. But my buddy Drew is a Bucs fan. He's huge. He's excited about Tom Brady coming back. Him and I were talking. So now we just got to clean some of this up. We got to get Davis back. He's all, we got to get. We just re-signed Jensen. He's like, so that's good, wonderful. He's like, we tagged Godwin
too. Jensen's contract ended up being very affordable.
Very affordable for them. He was talking about how we just need to get Fournette back in the backfield. He's like, take care of this. And I was like, you're forgetting the fact that you lost a guard already in Kappa and your other guard retired. I was like, your interior O-line is shot, man. He's shot. He's old. He may unretire now that Tom's back. And I was like,
are you going to slight my boy Aaron Stenny?
Sorry, my bad. You guys did bring back Stenny. I got to let Drew know. You guys got Stenny.
Okay. You got Stenny.
They do got Stenny. He's got some promise.
Yeah.
He definitely got some upside.
I like Stenny.
But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of teams that are going to get gutted. There's a lot of these talented teams that don't have a lot of cap space. They're going to get gutted. This happens every year. And Quest for 6, you're not wrong. Change is coming. Change is definitely coming. But is it going to be good or bad? We're going to see. The 49ers necessarily haven't done anything necessarily that's bad yet. It's just necessarily hasn't been everything we wanted. I think a lot of teams wanted one of these two guys, yet neither. And now people are like, oh, God, we're panic. They're smashing that panic button. They kicked the doors down.
I think they want understanding. You would get understanding if they had made a move already, right?
True.
If you've seen the tangible move, like they signed Charvarius Ward or they had signed Stephon Gilmore, you're like, oh, that's why we didn't bring back Laken Tomlinson because we're bringing this guy in. If they signed Valdez Scantling,
yes.
Like, oh, that's why we're not bringing him back because we got this guy. There's no tangible reason to why these guys didn't come back.
As of right now, it doesn't make any sense.
Other than you're looking at him and you're like, that was too much money. So then when you say that's too much money, then you look at Stephon Gilmore, who they're supposed to be interested in, or Chandler Jones, and you're like, wait, are they too much money too? So I just think it's one of those things that right now 49ers fans are just trying to figure out where the heck the front office is going with this. I think in time it'll make sense. It's just right now it's not making a lot of sense for a lot of people.
Quest for 6 just said it. It's stealth-like at the moment.
Oh, yeah, Jay only brought up Mason Cole did sign as well.
Mason Cole did sign as well. Alan says the Vikings are not bringing back Dakota Dozier, so if you want a cheap turnstile at the right guard position, there we go.
Okay, yeah, there are guys. There's still guys available that were from, of course, the Jets and the Packers, who we targeted in our O-line video that are going to be available. So maybe those are opportunities as well. I mean, I could get my list out and we could go over a couple of those guards.
Let's go through a couple of the guards. But Forktail said, is Scantling signed? Scantling is not signed yet as of this moment.
With anyone yet.
Not yet. And Horst, you are correct. Joe Tryon, we forgot about Joe Tryon. He is totally carrying Tampa's defense. So what are we worried about?
Yeah, Joe Tryon. I like Joe Tryon.
We love Joe Tryon.
I love Joe Tryon. Yeah.
We love him.
As far as offensive linemen that are still available, Alex Lewis and Dan Feeney, both from the New York Jets, are both available. Cheap, affordable options.
Absolutely.
I think we'd be remiss, though, if we didn't mention Tom Compton as a cheap, affordable option.
Tom Compton is available.
Guess who was with him in Washington? Forrester, Shanahan.
No.
Makes sense, right? We know that, let's see who else is, I guess that's it. That's really the guys that we looked. Oh, there was a Green Bay. Lucas Patrick. Lucas Patrick is another guy that we could keep an eye on as 49er fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Scantling would be a nice addition for Trey, in my opinion. Trey absolutely needed a deep threat.
Cool thing about Scantling, too. I don't know if you knew this, Alex. He ranks 16th best amongst wide receivers in blocking.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that he was top 15 in the league in terms of run blocking.
Yeah,
so that's a Kyle Shanahan trait.
6'4", over 200 pounds, can run a 4.38 and block. Sounds kind of wonderful.
Sounds kind of glorious. And Quest for 6, Compton, no.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Quest for 6 has that response. And then there was like half of 49ers Twitter that fell in love with Tom Compton enough they wanted to get rid of Mike McGlinchey and start Compton at right tackle. I think it's kind of just how people are just kind of all over the place.
I'm not going to lie. It feels like the 49er fan base and the fandom is just split in half with this team.
Well, I think everyone does, Alex. We just want the best players at every single position.
Well, I
just can't afford them. And we look at other teams and we're like, how can you afford that? We can't do that.
That's the big thing, man. That's honestly the thing for me that I still can't wrap my head around.
Yeah.
Is how some of these teams play gymnastics with the cap. Like,
you want me to be kind of honest with you?
It doesn't exist for them?
Part of it's ownership.
They're willing to spend.
They're willing to spend more money because they're going to be paying out dead money on players and stuff. The 49ers are third best, in dead money. They just don't have that much in the last, I think 5 years in the John Lynch regime. So some of that comes from that. I don't know if the ownership is all in. Eddie DeBartolo would have paid everyone.
He didn't care.
He would have made things work. You would have had perks you didn't even know about. You would have been living on the East Coast and don't worry about it. You're getting in and out. No problem every single day.
Twisted. How is he holding this hostage?
Oh,
I've been seeing this a lot. I want to hear how.
I think people and Twisted will probably clear this.
Yeah,
up.
I want to hear from Twisted.
But possibly people think that he won't work with an extension, or he won't waive his no trade clause in advance. But we know that the no trade clause doesn't matter. As soon as the league year kicks in, the problem is it's going to kick in with him still on the books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to have that traded in place. So I think that might be part of it.
It might be, but I haven't seen any of that yet.
Horse wants the honey badger.
Hey, Horse, dude.
Hey, Horse, what positions can the honey badger play?
We want to hear it. Horse, you better type it out.
And
I want all of them.
And Quest for Six is right. Ward and Honey Badger would be absolutely sweet. It would be fantastic, amazing.
Would it be better than Tartan? Yes, it would.
Yes, it would. Tyrann Matthews' flexibility to be able to play in the nickel. He could walk up. I mean, he can do the Jimmy Ward things at a higher level than Jimmy Ward. That too would be dynamic. I don't know if you can get the Honey Badger because we've had this conversation. Honey Badger wants the money.
He does want the money.
Yeah.
Brad, don't know much about MVS. Would he fit our system? Absolutely. Played. He just got out of essentially the same system with the Green Bay Packers. Yes, there are some slight differences and some things of that nature, but at the end of the day, he's going to have a very similar. It's not going to be a difficult transition from Marquez Valdez-Scantling here and Horst. Corner, safety, nickel, gunner, linebacker.
I can't let you get away with that. Linebacker. Yeah, Honey Badger with Deion Sanders, fantastic. As far as also with Scantling, one thing we got to remember is people might not want to hear this, but that would push Jauan Jennings down to wide receiver 4.
It would.
Scantling would be the top end guy. He would take the top off the defense. You'd want him playing with Debo, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. But in certain situations, I believe they would go 4 wide receiver sets, and they would have those guys together. But they would be using a different skill set. So Jauan Jennings at times and Scantling at times.
Dave Zobel Jr. giving us the do something meme. Niners, do something. They're poking the Niners organization with a stick right now.
Does Tomlinson's salary go off the books on the 16th? Laken Tomlinson's has some dead money that rolled over. Yeah. I think it's like $1.8 million, so it's not like huge, but Horse isn't wrong. He led the team in tackles though.
He did lead the team in tackles, so he might as well be a linebacker. And Money Badger says, Jan Stewart, you're not wrong there. And Megan re-upped the membership 7 months. Niners fam, smash the like button and become a member of the channel for our boys. Live stream and constant content are amazing.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Not wrong, Megan. It is amazing when we have constant content here on the 49ers Cutback, and it's really easy to have constant content like this, right? 3 videos today, Cutback Crew. 3.
Yeah.
Daily video and two breaking news.
Quest for 6, Jennings would be the third down king. He is the third down king.
That he is.
And he had a lot of pivotal touchdowns as well. I think everyone's excited about his potential. 29 catches, most of them for first downs and touchdowns. So I think everyone's excited, but anytime you can continue to improve the room, you do. And the one thing that Trey Lance needs in this offense is somebody that can take the top off the defense consistently.
Correct.
And a 4.36 guy that, is 6'4" and over 200 pounds. Sounds a lot like Christian Watson, somebody that they could be targeting in the draft if they can get him. He definitely earned himself some money and moved up the draft boards with the time that he ran. So if you can get a guy that's a proven commodity already, sometimes that's the better option.
You definitely can there. Brad Jones, would MVS become our punt and kick returner? Possibly.
I don't think so. I think this is
maybe one of them. You don't think punt?
No, I think that this is part of the reason they're in on Jakeem Grant because they want somebody else to handle it. Another shifty guy, somebody that could do something else. You could also take a wide receiver in the draft that you coin with that, or a running back, for instance. Like if they lose out on Raheem Mostert, they might turn to Cordero Patterson, and in that case, Cordero Patterson could be your return guy. Also the case, and that is also very, very true. Forktail says we got Jennings tendered, right? At the moment, I think they've extended. Ooh. I don't know if they it's not a tender thing, correct? With who? With Jauan Jennings, because he's an exclusive rights free. He's exclusive right. He can only agree to terms with the 49ers. So they don't have to tender him at all. They can just put out kind of that initial offer. Oh, they did put a tender to him. The base minimum. Yeah, tender, it's $850,000. Okay, $850. He can either sign it or like they're trying to do. I think they're trying to work out an extension, a long-term deal. Yeah, that is right. What happened right there? Rappaport saying it. Pro Bowl defensive end Frank Clark has reworked his contract to stay in Kansas City. New deal is 2 years, $29 million base with upside of $36 million. So who said that? Because we want to give credit. That was Animal Singh here in the chat. There you go. Credit to you. Thank you, for putting that in the chat. We really appreciate it. So yeah, that just happened. So Frank Clark is staying. 49ers Twitter can relax. They no longer have to worry about Frank Clark coming to San Francisco.
So congratulations. 7% of the Cutback crew, of the 81 votes we have right now, only 7% of you said trade for Frank Clark, which means only 7% of you are wrong. That is not what the Niners are doing. He's restructured instead.
I was kind of interested about that because it was going to be a $27 million cap hit if they traded for Frank Clark. I didn't see them coming up with $27 million if they haven't quite got it off the $25 million for old Jimmy G.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think that there's some moves that have to be made here. And I'm waiting to hear it, and we've got nothing but silence from San Francisco.
It is dead silent right now for the San Francisco 49ers. There's just not a lot happening. There's 49ers Twitter right now that is absolutely losing its mind, and I get it. I understand why. It makes sense as to why they're losing their mind here. Here's an update for you as well, Ant. Kansas City never offered Tyrann Mathieu a deal. Chiefs' plan was to go in a different direction, and they were willing to let him walk.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors about maybe he's not the best locker room guy. You wonder if that fits in San Francisco with what they do. I think the one thing I always look at with these guys is sometimes when you're bringing in a personality, you have to have strong guys, in your locker room. And I think the 49ers do have strong guys, and I don't think they'd be swayed either way. But I don't know if the 49ers ultimately would decide to go with a Tyrann Mathieu if that's really the case. These teams have a lot of, people they can reach out to in other teams and find out how players are. And if he's somewhat of a locker room problem, the 49ers won't bring him to San Francisco. But I honestly don't think they're going to pay a safety that much money either. I think Tyrann Mathieu is going to want double-digit salary per season. I just don't think the 49ers go that route. I think it's more than likely they go with one of the younger options that we've talked about that haven't signed anywhere, one of these Wave 2, Wave 3 guys, or they go with, Jaquiski Tartt, who we'll see what his market is, because some of these guys are flying off the boards and getting big money. Justin Reed just got an absolutely huge contract to go up there to Kansas City.
Yeah, he definitely did. And here's a quote from John Lynch in the past week, and that might give some insight into what's going on.
Okay.
I think that's something, and this is in regards to the combine, wondering about the team's approach to free agency and things of that nature. I think that's something Kyle and I have needed to grow. We like being aggressive, but that's also a valuable tool that a lot of good organizations have tried to take advantage of. In order to do that, though, you've got to let good players go. That's not something we have loved to do, but you have to understand that as many guys as we're paying at the top of the market, which is a good deal because we have many of the players that deserve to be paid at the top of the market, but you can't keep everyone. So sometimes playing that comp pick game, I think it's starting to come. So taking a look at the fact that you're going to have some teams that are going to want to overpay, and maybe rather than overpaying for some of these guys, letting them walk away, knowing that there's maybe some things and moves you can make in the draft with some compensatory picks to maybe go after and trade for some people and bring them in, or draft guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do. Whenever you are good at scouting, developing these players, you want to re-sign the guys you can. The other ones you have to let walk, and you have to repeat that same process. So you got Kinlaw. You were hoping he was going to be the next DeForest Buckner, but in a little bit of a different manner because he's bigger. And you have to continue to do this at all the positions. That's why last year they got Omri Thomas. They're expecting him to develop into a corner that can do some things for them in the future. So you continually do that. Charvarius Moore was supposed to be a replacement for Ward or Tartt. So you continually bring guys in and hope that you're replacing. You got to scout, develop, and then hopefully re-sign the guys you can, and the ones that you can't, you let go. There's going to be big decisions like with Dre Greenlaw as well coming up.
Very true. Alan says, I suck at 49ers predictions. Are you better with your Vikings and predicting what's going on there? That's a question for you. T.O., does Lynch and Kyle know that free agents started today? Ironically enough, T.O., we were literally going to go live right when the DJ Jones news broke. And the video was going to be, the live stream was going to be all quiet on the free agency front for the 49ers and what the heck is going on and, what is happening and why aren't moves being made? Look, at the end of the day, right now, it looks like the Niners are just kind of maybe not biding their time, but really going through their options. And it looks like there's specific players that they're going after. And it's maybe not as, I guess, fruitful or as bountiful in terms of the number of positions they're targeting right now as it is they're just trying to make sure they hit on a corner at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll see how this patience works out. If the 49ers are patient and it works out as far as them being able to get a couple of players in that they want to get in, or, if some of these young players are able to step up, they're able to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo at the right time and get the right type of compensation, then that's going to be fine. Then they did the right thing. It's one of those things where we just don't want to get too excited about it now. Let's not, get worked up about what the 49ers are doing until, we do miss out on all these players, because I'm not sure that the players that have signed so far are players the 49ers were interested in. I don't remember thinking that, J.C. Jackson was somebody the Niners were legitimately going to sign.
I think the only one that's happened today that I've looked at and been like, oh God, was Reed just now. Justin Reed.
I'm not at that money.
Not at money. No. I didn't think he was going to get that kind of contract.
No, I didn't either. That's a huge contract.
That is a big contract.
I think it put in perspective, some of the values in some of these players. But, that's why we talked about him, because we thought he was an ascending player that...
Well, we thought he could become that, right?
Yeah.
Become that. I didn't think someone was going to pay him that money right now.
No, definitely not. But, this is what happens. And I think sometimes you just got to be patient. And, you might miss out on guys if you're too patient. But I'm pretty sure they're locked in on the guys that they want to bring in. And if they stay in constant contact with them, they're going to know what's up. And if they really, get pushed comes to shove, they'll make the right move. And hopefully they're able to bring in a couple of these guys. I think it would be exciting to talk about. But if not, we're just going to have to see what they do. It could get really interesting real quick.
Definitely can. 49ers Fogey, Bill Walsh, and someone else had brought up Bill Walsh earlier. I want to credit whoever it was. T.O. said this. Bill Walsh did this every year. But the quote here, Bill Walsh, it's better to let a player go too early than too late.
Yeah, I think that's a solid, comment. And he was maybe stubborn about that because, he let Jerry Rice go a little bit too early, I think. So I think, Ronnie Lott and Roger Craig were also guys he let go a little bit too early, I think. But that was what his belief is, and Bill Belichick has a similar belief. So I think there's something to that. The one thing I will say is, DJ Jones is 27. It's not a year too early. It's just he's not financially acceptable to what they want to do. And how they plan on attacking free agency and building this roster. And with Laken Tomlinson, he's not that old either. So these are just what they are. These aren't guys in their 30s that the 49ers are letting go because they're getting kind of, long in the tooth per se.
Definitely. And that's what I mean. Sometimes you have to move on from those guys and not pay the big money, even though they've earned it. Let someone else do that for you. Dave says, do you think that Lynch and Shanahan have something big cooking that would have passed in the second round pick that was slated on the table for Jimmy G? 100%. I think the reality is I think the team that's in place, I think the main team that's in place is the Indianapolis Colts, and I do agree with you on this. And I think they're offering something similar to what they gave up to or what they got from Washington for the Carson Wentz pick. And the Niners sitting there going, if you were willing to move off of Carson Wentz for that, knowing that you were going to trade around and go after a handful of guys, one of them being Jimmy Garoppolo, then you believe Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. And if that's the case, pony up. It's time to pony up, gentlemen, and pay.
That's exactly. Right now, Ballard and John Lynch are in a complete stare down. They're just staring at each other, waiting for the other one to blink, because you're right. Obviously, trading away Carson Wentz and getting the compensation he got, and then turning around and wanting to trade for another quarterback, you're signaling to that football team that, yeah, I like your guy better than the guy I just traded. So you're going to have to pay more value for him. But I think the 49ers are waiting on that, and I don't think the Colts are wanting to move off that. They're hoping eventually they can flip those picks they got for Carson Wentz straight to the 49ers in the same situation, because then all they did really was not lose anything. All they did was trade quarterbacks. So I think it's what they're trying to do. The 49ers are obviously trying to maximize the potential. At some point, the rubber will meet the road, and one of these guys will blink, and then there'll be a decision. But I think when that decision comes down, if the 49ers ultimately get the Carson Wentz deal, I think everyone will be happy and excited about it. And then another thing, the Vikings, they're going to release Michael Pierce, the defensive tackle Michael Pierce. He refused to take a pay cut, so now he's going to be on the open market as well.
And Anmal just brought that up a little bit earlier. Said Michael Pierce, a potential candidate to replace DJ Jones. So there you go. That is definitely going to be a thing that happens. Alan actually just brought up Vikings stuff and said Harrison Phillips. He didn't know who Harrison Phillips was before today, so no, I'm not much better at Vikings predictions. Harrison Phillips was actually a guy we talked about and I brought up in the defensive tackle or interior defensive tackle situation. Because I said if the Niners don't re-sign DJ Jones, maybe they go after a guy like Phillips if they can't bring in a BJ Hill, who's known more as a rotational guy who can stop the run. He's not much of a pass rusher. So, Alan, that's what you're going to be getting there. A guy who's going to be coming in on early downs in a rotation to try and slow down the run game and prevent teams from getting downhill and pounding the football down your throat, which at times seemed to happen a little bit. So maybe it'll be a better situation there.
Well, and what Quest for Six, was it Quest for Six that said it? Who said that no, it must be Up One. Brad Jones said the blink will happen once Watson trade happens.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Brad said that.
Brad said that. That is entirely accurate, because once that happens, the loser, New Orleans or Carolina, who have decided to go all in on a quarterback, need to jump back in the quarterback market. I believe the best situation is actually for Deshaun Watson to end up in New Orleans, because I think Carolina would panic and need another quarterback. I think 100%. New Orleans would go Jameis Winston in that scenario.
Correct.
So I think that if that happens, Carolina jumps into the fray and makes the Colts up their offer, and then the 49ers get the picks that they ultimately wanted. And if John Lynch comes out of this with the picks that he ultimately wanted, after all the heat that he's been taking, I will definitely be applauding him for standing his ground and going after what he thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to give this football team. Because then it'll be played the right way. If he doesn't, then that's on him, and all the criticism that he's been receiving is warranted.
Correct. Well, and that's what I mean, though, right? Only time will tell what happens in that scenario, and if the Niners waited too long and overplayed their hand, or whether they let everyone play right into their hand and what they wanted to get out of the situation, which was multiple picks. You started off with I want a first-round pick. We're not trading Jimmy Garoppolo for a first-round pick to, I guess we'll take a second to the minute guys started getting moved for multiple picks, including Carson Wentz. Once that started happening, it was like, you can get more than one pick. You can get more than just a second for Jimmy at this point in time. Because as much as everyone believes in Carson Wentz's upside and possibilities and his potentiality, the reality of the situation is that Carson Wentz hasn't been able to stay healthy. And when he has been healthy, he hasn't led those teams to the promised land or even close to the promised land. He's either been not available, or when he has been available, those teams haven't even made the playoffs. The San Francisco 49ers are not in that boat. Jimmy Garoppolo has been hurt, and when Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy or even playing through injury, his teams are still making NFC Championship games and Super Bowls.
Well, I mean, obviously people know how negotiations work, right? You set a mark for what you are, or what you always say more than what you actually intend to get, and then they say less. And then eventually you meet at a certain point, and you know that where the value is supposed to be. So we heard this with the Washington football team. I'm still going to call them that for right now. When they got Carson Wentz, a 4 and a 6. That's what they offered initially, and then eventually it went all the way up to a swaps of seconds, getting a second, and then a third that can become a second. I think that's what happens in negotiations. You do that. So many people on Twitter would have already abandoned negotiations, lost this, and ended up with Wingstop or Raising Cane's because they were going to trade anything for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Correct. And Key, I did want to get to you. You said a little bit earlier, Broncos fan here is DJ Jones a good pickup. It is an excellent pickup.
Yes.
You picked up one of the best interior defensive linemen on the market, and you definitely picked up a guy who's going to provide you guys the ability to stop the run with 7 in the box, give your secondary lots of options, and do a lot of different things. So huge pickup for you guys.
As far as for any Denver Bronco fans that are in the chat, you are going to absolutely,
including Big Pot Dragon,
you're going to love every single one of these guys, or every single thing DJ Jones does for your football team. He's going to be one of those guys you root for every single week. You can buy his jersey because he's going to do a big time thing for you every week.
And you're going to get rid of Mike Purcell.
Yeah.
No more Mike Purcell, guys. Hopefully. Congratulations.
But yeah, I think Denver fans are going to be very excited about DJ Jones. We're disappointed about losing him. He's somebody that I really enjoyed watching over the last few years.
Any chance the Chiefs trade for Bosa? Why would we trade Bosa?
No, I don't think. I'm just going to answer the question. I don't think so.
No?
I don't think there's any chance they trade for Bosa. I think any team would love to get Bosa, but
the Niners are not trading.
You think Deshaun Watson deserves 3 first-round picks? That's the starting point where they're starting conversations for Bosa. He's on a cheap contract for 2 more years. You're not trading Bosa without getting a just an ultimate haul.
I mean, you're getting what the Saints did, right? Where they gave up their entire draft for Ricky Williams. Yeah. I mean, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a Herschel Walker deal.
Yeah, it's going to be something insane.
I don't think anyone's doing that. It's not going to happen. No, it's not.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely interested and intrigued in what's going to be happening there and how that's going to be playing.
Quest for 6 said 5 firsts for Bosa. No one's offering 5 firsts, and I'm not taking 5 firsts because you don't know what's. Do we really want to take the chance of 5 firsts and none of them ending up being as good as Nick Bosa?
I don't want
because I think he's a generational talent. So we traded a great edge rusher once. His name was Charles Haley. It didn't work out for us. Let's go ahead and keep the good one that we have.
Let's not make that mistake again. Let's not do that. It would be horrible for the San Francisco 49ers.
He said Mack was traded. You're right. He was traded.
Yep.
Difference was the Raiders at the time didn't want to pay Khalil Mack, and now Khalil Mack is old enough with a production level that is not equal to what Nick Bosa does. Nick Bosa is a better pass rusher than Khalil Mack.
Also, big difference here. If you're talking about Mack being traded just recently, you're right. Khalil Mack is a fantastic player. The Chicago Bears are in the middle of a rebuild. Yeah, they're rebuilding. And the Niners are not rebuilding.
And Khalil Mack is worth almost, $30 million?
It's a lot of money.
That's a big cap hit. So Nick Bosa would be worth a lot more than a 2 and a 6 like they got from Chicago.
Android user Mahomes for Bosa. Straight up. Well, now we're cooking with fire, and now we're cooking with grease in here.
Here we go.
This is as realistic as it gets.
Wrong 49ers podcast channel for that. Yeah, no, I love Android users, so I know they're joking. But
I know. And Android users just kidding. Jason, it's gonna be okay. Don't have a heart attack. Just don't do it. Not worth it.
Yeah, no, Bosa's not getting traded. George Kittle's not getting traded.
So I do have a question for the Cutback Crew and for you, Ant. Trubisky goes to the Steelers, which doesn't shock me. I thought a team would take a chance on him. You know, I wish a team wouldn't do that because, you know, that means there were options for the 49ers, but with them paying Sudfeld, it looks like that's going to be our backup quarterback, and maybe they draft somebody. But is the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers went with Mitchell Trubisky is because now he's Mitchell Trubisky. Get it?
No, I saw it.
You can do things with his name in Pittsburgh, and it makes him marketable.
No, what it does is if you read his contract, he's getting $7 million a year. That's in case he ends up being the backup quarterback behind whoever they draft. And then if he plays a lot, then he can earn up to $13 million. So this is one of those contracts where he's going to give the opportunity to play, but there's no guarantee he's going to be the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh.
That's true. That's very true. I'll trade Bosa for Watson in a heartbeat. We're just not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's right about Bosa wanting over $30 million. That's true.
And listen,
he's going to want over $30 million.
He's going to want over $30 million, and he's going to deserve every cent.
I think that is becoming, well, his brother just signed something right just under $30 million. I think that's going to be the going rate for pass rushers. When it comes down to it, quarterback rates go up. That means pass rusher rate goes up, which means left tackle rates go up. This is the growing trend. The salary cap's just got to continue to rise up. But when you have one of these elite guys, you're probably going to pay him. Now, if you want to say there's an argument around, doing that, maybe adding other players, I think there is potential for that. But I just don't move off an elite pass rusher like Nick Bosa. They just don't come around very often. And you don't have the opportunity to draft that high that often. No. I mean, without Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt in 2020, you're not picking second overall.
Correct. And
2018.
2018. If Jimmy
I got 2 years ahead of myself.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt in 2018 and Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt in 2020 afforded the San Francisco 49ers essentially the same issue, the same thing, right? In 2018, him getting hurt, your team was so hot garbage bad with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard having to play quarterback that you were able to land in that spot where you got Bosa in the top 3 spot. In 2020, same thing. He gets hurt. He does play some games. The Niners win some football games, finish in that 12 to 15 range with their pick, where they were going to be landing roughly. And what ends up happening? You're able to move up to 3 to get Trey Lance and shore up your quarterback for room for the future. Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt. As much as people get upset about Jimmy Garoppolo not being available, Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt in 2 separate years got you 2 guys that everyone loves. Right? It helped you start to build this team out. You gave up only a 2nd-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. We're most likely dealing him for a 2nd-round pick and something else, which means you're getting more back than you gave up potentially at the time. Jimmy Garoppolo has been really a net positive for the 49ers, especially if you end up getting 2 picks.
The Jaguars' money came out on Brandon Scherf, a 3-year deal, $49.5 million, $30 million guaranteed, and $33 million in the first 2 years. Just a tremendous contract.
Shnikes. So 33 in the first 2 years?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money going a year. Out. Yeah. And Justin Reed got 3 years, $31 million, by the way.
Oh, my.
So
it's over $10 million a year.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious, Ant. That's impressive.
Tight end Jeff Swain just signed $3.5 million extension.
Great tone, 765. Defense played good without Bosa. What?
Okay. Well, when, though?
When?
Are you talking about 2020?
Talking about 2020?
You could be talking about 2020 because remember their numbers were pretty good. I think the pass rush suffered in a big way, but the secondary held it down in a big way in 2020.
But that's because you had a healthy Jason Verrett.
Also, offenses seem to struggle a little bit more in 2020 than normal because of the no fans and stuff. I mean, there's an argument. I don't think it's like one of those things where you can absolutely slam the door on it. Because I think there's an argument that, can you really pay a pass rusher that much money? I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to let go of elite pass rushers, but I think people see both ways. I mean, $30 million is a lot to pay any player. I don't even want to pay a quarterback $30 million, let alone a pass rusher. So I do wish the number was a lot lower.
Megan, appreciate the $2 super chat. The Cutback is the greatest. It's not the greatest. It's the best Niners podcast around. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you, Day One TCC member. He's saying last season. Are you saying last season?
2020. Yeah, 2020. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
When they played without Nick Bosa.
I mean, it was It was okay.
No, they had good numbers. The defense did play well.
It was okay.
Did the defense not have good numbers?
It had good numbers, but
he's not wrong.
Was 2021 a better defense than 2020?
Oh yeah, I think it was. But that's the thing.
It's a wash.
What's the value then? $30 million? I think there's an argument.
I'm not gonna have that.
There's
argument.
definitely an argument.
I'm not gonna have it.
Well, I might. I don't know. You
can.
We'll see what happens with Bosa this year.
You have it. Yeah. I'm not having that argument.
Okay, I'll have it.
I'm paying. I'm happily paying. I'm happily paying Nick Bosa.
You happily pay, and then what happens when Trey Lance's contract comes up?
Hey, that's the future. That's future Alex's problem. That's future 49ers problem.
That used to try to rework contracts like as soon as you drafted someone.
It's true. It's very accurate. Hey, why not?
There you go.
And Maul, though, I think this is as much as 49ers fans differ on things. You may differ. Great tone. We may differ on Nick Bosa. We may differ on who should start a quarterback, right? All those things may be true, but we can all get behind one thing here. And Maul saying Trent Baalke is amazing.
Yeah. Trent Baalke,
fantastic.
Yeah, you think I'm shocked that he made a bad decision about a wide receiver? All I have to do is think about AJ Jenkins.
True.
This is just Trent Baalke went on a spending spree. Doug Peterson's gonna have to turn this thing around in a hurry, or they're gonna be in trouble.
You're not wrong.
Baalke knows though, right? They have to win right now. He's gonna lose his job. It's not like he's on.
He is. Well, he literally has to go all in. Yeah, they have all this money. He has to spend it, and he has to try and hit on more guys.
Yeah, he's not on good footing, so he's making some moves there, and we'll see if they pan out for him.
T.O., this is an incredible question. How does the cap work when Green Bay is paying Aaron Rodgers all that dough?
Well, yeah.
It's a number. It exists in the ether. A lot of these teams are doing just some weird cap gymnastic stuff.
No, they are, for sure. There's some stuff that these guys are doing out there, and they're making some things work. These guys, I mean, look at New Orleans. I mean, they started offseason with over $77 million over the cap, and they're going to get under. They're going to be under, and it looks they might even work out being able to get Deshaun Watson and add his
or Jimmy Garoppolo.
Deshaun Watson's $37 million cap hit, and they might be able to work it out to have that guy in the roster. It's amazing.
Ooh, oh man, are they printing money in Green Bay? Maybe they might be. They did up the price of hot dogs.
Well, they also, had a big sell as far as like they had a lot of new people, buy the stock of the team. So
it's true.
They are financially growing in the right direction.
They are financially growing in the right direction. That is 100% accurate. Alan says we can call it the greatest podcast. I see no lies. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, man. Also accurate. Twisted Clown, Ayo, R.I.P. to Mr. Scott Hall. Yes, the Razor. Love that man. Miss that man. But, Ant, a lot of love here, and we will continue the AOs and chalking another one more for the good guys here on the channel.
Yeah, that's right.
Always for the good guys. Quest for 6, can we bring back Mostert? 100% we can.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to cost a whole heck of a lot of money. We'll see. We'll see what the Niners end up doing. But this is probably going to be a wave 2, wave 3
Well,
guy.
Miami won, $6.1 million?
For Chase Edmonds?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I know I put the top in at $5 million for Raheem Mostert, but maybe we can get him for under 3.
Hey, Juanito, Jimmy will be back. A couple people in the chat have been putting that.
No.
They're thinking Jimmy's coming back, Ant.
Who was it that said that today? Was it Smash Mouth?
Smash Mouth.
Smash Mouth came out and said that it was like the actual band on Twitter came out and said Jimmy was coming back, and then they were like, that's a heck of an opinion. He's like, that's not an opinion. That's what basically
that's what it's gonna be. That's
very interesting. Very interesting.
We've got a couple people in the Cutback crew have said that the same thing, that they think that that's going to be the reality, is that Jimmy is going to come back and start. I saw Grant Cohn said the Niners could potentially not trade Jimmy Garoppolo until the start of training camp, and the quote tweet from Grant Cohn was barf. And I was like, Grant, Ant, we all know if Jimmy Garoppolo was still with the San Francisco 49ers through training camp, that Grant Cohn would be the happiest member of 49ers land because he'd have all of the things to talk about. All of the things.
I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo will be with the team past the draft.
No.
I think they will make a move in the next couple of days, but if they don't, it won't go past the draft because someone will pull a trigger on Jimmy Garoppolo, and the 49ers will want to have not only the free cap space, but also the draft capital as well.
Traffic. Tom Brady heard Jimmy G to the Saints and possibly decided to unretire at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, really, Jimmy?
Yeah.
I was going to be there. If the Colts sign Mariota, should we panic, says Anmol. I don't know if we should panic. I think that'd be talk about a locker room that is divided already over this Carson Wentz situation. They are divided over it. There are reports coming out, right, that Carson Wentz was not a good locker room leader. And then you have guys like Darius Leonard coming out and thanking Carson for everything he did, talking about the fact that he's now had 5 quarterbacks in 5 years. So the locker room is not necessarily all in or out on the Carson Wentz situation. They're a little divided. If you turn around to that locker room and go, by the way, gentlemen, Marcus Mariota, that's the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land. You may have guys being like, yo, what the? And just wholesale JJ Watting it, right? Like doing everything in their power to get the head coach out before the season ends.
Do you think Jim Irsay is going to be okay with Marcus Mariota being the starting quarterback after you were able to beat him when he was with the Houston or with
Dude, Pat McAfee is very
the Titans.
McAfee is very close with Jim Irsay. They talk. He's come back a bunch of different times. They've done a bunch of different things with his podcast with the Colts. Pat McAfee is pushing really hard for the Colts to sign Jimmy Garoppolo. I think if Pat McAfee is saying stuff like that, you have guys who are tied in with the Colts who are longtime Colts guys that have come out and said they would love having Jimmy Garoppolo. Like Jimmy Garoppolo would not be a problem here in Indianapolis. I think that shows you kind of what a lot of the thought process is in the front office. The question is the Colts are trying to come out of this on top, right? You went all in on Carson last year. It didn't work out. You moved off him and got some capital. Can we try and find a way to get Jimmy in without giving some of that away? Because we would prefer not to have to go all in twice in 2 consecutive years with 2 different guys. The Colts are trying to do everything they can to not have to go all in. And at the moment, they don't have to because a lot of teams are interested in Deshaun Watson. So they're really the only team that's like, oh, hey, Texans, can we get him? And the Texans are like, no, you don't get to interview Deshaun Watson. You're not talking to him. They're like, oh, darn it. Hey, Kyle, no one really wants Jimmy. We'll give you what we gave up for Carson. And the Niners know we just got to wait, right? It's plain chicken at this point. It's 2 guys going straight. Someone's going to have to blink. And the Niners are thinking they're not the team that's going to blink.
It's called negotiations.
That too.
As long as you have time in those negotiations, you have time for something to change. There's no reason to make a move until you have to. So, no, Jimmy Garoppolo will not be on the 49ers in 2022. They're going to make a clean break, and they're going to go towards Trey Lance. He's going to be the quarterback. They will eventually move off Trey Lance, and it'll be a good situation for him. So I don't expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be back. I think they will make a move, and I think the Colts will be the destination. But I think that if the Colts might panic here pretty quick, if they believe Carolina is going to get back in the mix, because if Carolina gets back in the mix, they're a wild card because they could be the team that's missing out. So a perfect scenario could be for the 49ers if the Browns do go and try to make a huge offer and get him and get Deshaun Watson.
Well, if that happens, then you're going to have a situation too where Baker Mayfield becomes available, and yes, there's another guy on the market, but I don't think anyone's looking at Baker Mayfield and being like, yeah, significantly better than Jimmy Garoppolo. You have a nice situation there across the board. I wanted to get to this here. Let's see here. Quest for 6. Can we sign both Gilmore and Verrett? 100% you can. It really just depends down to what Gilmore's number is. And, is Verrett at that point, if you sign Gilmore to a little bit bigger contract, you may be trying to get Verrett in on that vet exemption salary.
Yeah, if you're getting Verrett on the vet exemption salary, then it's only going to cost you $855,000 against the cap. You're definitely living with that. I think Verrett's top end will be about $3 million. But we have to also say thank you to the great one.
Oh, the
765 for
the great one, 765 for the subscription.
Thank you for joining the Cutback crew. We really appreciate it.
Welcome. No way Mariota goes to Indy as a starter. They have a mutiny on their hands. Probably.
Agreed.
McAfee wants any quarterback who won't sprain both of his ankles on the same place as Miller.
Also agreed.
Also agreed and not wrong. Matter of fact, every chance he gets, he brings it up. He brings it up every chance he gets. Okay, well, Sarah, bye-bye. See you later. I mean, you want it. It's your call. Have fun over there. Have fun. I did enjoy Android user Ant a little bit ago. Jimmy G starting to give me the undesirable white elephant item I can't get rid of vibes. It's an absolutely fantastic quote. Android user Ant with all the stuff. Raymond Emily Jones said, do we get comp picks for the guys that we've lost now?
Yeah, we do get comp picks. What those are going to be, we don't know yet. But the thought is that we're going to get 2 4th-round picks from losing those 2 players.
Yeah, we're going to see what it is. If it's 4th, that's not necessarily a bad situation. That's actually right in the 49ers sweet spot of where they like to find gems, Ant.
And draft capital in general is a good thing. You can definitely couple those 2 picks together and get something even better. So anytime you're picking within the 150 players, you're excited about that.
You definitely are. I know I like picking the top 150. In fact, that was the goal last year, right? We talked about that in the draft, was trying to do as much as you possibly can to get yourself in that top 150. And get as many guys as you possibly can because there was a lot of talent. Again, a lot of talent this year as well. It's maybe not as deep across the board everywhere in the draft, but there's definitely some talent in some very key positions that the Niners would like to improve upon, including the wide receiver room.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in the draft. I'm excited once we get through free agency to get into that.
Absolutely, and welcome to the Cutback crew, sir. I'm definitely not going to say it, but welcome to the Cutback crew. Maybe Trey wants a bag of money and whatever else he was busted with. Oh, Irsay. I thought I said Trey for a second. I was like, I don't understand. Look, there's going to be a lot of interesting things that happen with the Colts, with the 49ers, with the Panthers, with the Saints. What these teams are going to do. Does a team like the Browns try and get in here last minute? Do the Raiders, after the Deshaun Watson stuff happens, sit there and go, maybe we go get a quarterback that can run my system and just find a way to get Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe they make a deal with the Colts in order to come get Jimmy from San Francisco. There's still a lot of options and things that are on the table, but I think the Jimmy Garoppolo situation is trending towards Indianapolis being potentially the landing spot.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's clearing, and that's what it is. I think there are some decisions that the Raiders are going to have to make, and I think they're going to go with defensive routes. Stephon Gilmore on their radar, Tyrann Mathieu on their radar. They need to bring in some guys to help that secondary and be able to compete with the other teams in the AFC West. As far as Jimmy Garoppolo goes, I think it's the Colts, and I think the Colts have always targeted him. And I think the 49ers know the Colts want him, so they're just going to sit there in a standstill. Eventually, this will come to a conclusion, and when it does, we'll see what we get for him. But Jimmy's going to get moved at some point. The 49ers will free up that cap space. I'm sure they've worked out a lot of frameworks for a lot of other players as far as extensions and restructures and that sort of thing, so they can free up even additional cap space, or they wouldn't be in on Stephon Gilmore or Chandler Jones or any of these guys that they've been rumored to be in on, Valdez-Scantling as well. So there's going to be moves that the 49ers are going to make. I think a lot of them are going to be second and third wave guys, but we'll see.
Hey, McIntosh, Ant, we're done. Kyle needs to have some balls and trade Jimmy already. Right?
The thing is just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it's not going to be done. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be moved. I think when 49er fans should be able to be panicked is if he doesn't get moved before March 16th. I think that is when it gets really interesting. If he's not moved before that, if he's not moved before Wednesday, at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, then I think that there's some valid complaints out there because we do need to get off that contract. We need to free up that $25 million so the 49ers can use it in free agency and also use it eventually to sign their draft picks because they're going to need close to $10 million, I think, to sign their draft picks the way it's currently constituted. Not to mention what it could be if they get certain compensation for the Jimmy Garoppolo trade. So I think that this is something that's going to be interesting, but it's going to play out. I'm not going to panic until Wednesday. I mean, I just don't. I'm waiting on everything because I know how negotiations work. This is something that's going to play out, but I know we want it now. We want it to happen. But so far, the 49ers haven't done that, and I'm just going to trust them to do it right. And if they don't do it right, then they're welcoming all the criticism that they get.
Very, very true. And look, no, Andrew, you just said, are we getting comp picks? I thought these guys were free agents. So how compensatory picks work in the NFL is, as you lose players and as you sign players, the NFL essentially has a formula for readiness based on average salary per year, how they finish in award ratings, things of that nature. So if you don't sign as many free agents as you lost in terms of quality, then the league will start awarding you compensatory picks, getting closer to try and make up for that value. It's essentially, not necessarily rewarding teams, but helping lessen the damage from you losing out to players in free agency because you maybe can't afford to or cannot sign or pay the big contract, the big money to keep these guys in your organization, keep them in your team, and keep your team, consistently trending in the same way with the same guys. It was essentially a way to try and balance out by, hey, you lost this guy, this talented guy, because he did really well for you, to another team who's willing to pay more. Here's a pick, so maybe you can go out and draft a replacement. It's essentially what it is.
And I seen Jeff Gladney get brought up, and actually I tweeted that out a few days ago about.
You did bring up Jeff Gladney.
Jeff Gladney would be something I think the 49ers should look into. First round pick, a lot of potential. Of course, had his legal trouble, but has been exonerated. So I think the 49ers would definitely look at him. He fits what they do on a defensive scheme, situation. Call and see what he's got. Bring him in, and I think he's got a lot of potential. So I would be interested in Jeff Gladney, and I think he could add to this football team for sure.
Agreed there. Bay, Ant, I'm gonna tell you something. Jimmy honestly should stay with us, but you guys hate on him. There is no Jimmy Garoppolo hate on this podcast.
Who's hating on Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't know who's hating on Jimmy Garoppolo. Bay, you can take that and redirect it at the section of 49ers fans that are actually hating on Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not this pod.
No.
We appreciate everything that Jimmy Garoppolo has done. It's sad to see him go, but it's business at the end of the day. You're trying to do what's best for the team long term and right now. You're trying to build the team as best you possibly can, and you have a young, talented guy in Trey Lance that you think can get the job done, and you need to make sure you can pay guys around him to keep this team at the level to keep us going to the Super Bowl and keep us in playoffs. You can't do that with Jimmy Garoppolo's contract.
No, I mean, we've been realistic from the jump. As soon as they traded for Trey Lance, we knew that there was a clock that was ticking on Jimmy Garoppolo.
Accurate.
We knew Jimmy Garoppolo needed to be the starting quarterback in 2021. He gave him the best opportunity to win, but that 2022 was going to be Trey Lance's time. We stuck to our guns. Believe that is the case now. That's what's going to happen. So they're going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. There's no hate involved in it. It's not like he's not a good quarterback. We're one of the ones who think he's worth a decent haul in value in draft picks.
Well, we're not the ones sitting here saying, right, Jimmy should be traded for a burrito.
No, or just cut him because he has no trade value. Those things aren't true. I was watching today, and Scott Pioli said today that it's known pretty much around the league that Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. And he said he should get more picks than that. So Scott Pioli used to be a front office guy in this league and a well-respected one with New England and with Kansas City. So the fact that he says that means there is some people in front offices that do value Jimmy Garoppolo. I think sometimes the fan base just sours on him a little bit.
Agreed there. And look, traffic, he got forced out because of injuries. He definitely got forced out because he was injured and not available. That's the reality of the situation with Jimmy Garoppolo that, a lot of fans don't want to take into account or want to take that into account so much that they're willing to forget the other things that happened, right? The other things that were going on. So at the end of the day with Jimmy Garoppolo, it's just an unfortunate situation. You brought this guy in hoping that he was going to be your franchise quarterback. He wasn't able to stay healthy. And if you're not healthy, it's really hard to be a franchise quarterback. And if you're not on the field, you can't be the guy that their team's relying on and counting on to, lead the future of the organization. You're not available. And so if you're not available, right, Kyle Shanahan has said this. If you don't have an elite quarterback, you're a team that's trying to find an elite quarterback. If Jimmy Garoppolo isn't on the field, can't stay healthy, and isn't taking the deep shots downfield and taking the next step, right, with the offense, the evolution of being able to stretch the field vertically as well as they do horizontally, then you got to find that guy. And Trey has all of the tools to potentially be that guy.
Yeah, I see a lot of talk about, Colin Kaepernick, because there is a chance Colin Kaepernick's going to end up in the NFL again this year, possibly with Seattle. I think the one thing I will say about Cap is physically, yes, he was definitely good enough to play in the NFL. I think he made some decisions that he knew was going to affect him because it wasn't so much about his ability, but the fact of what it was going to carry wherever he went. It's the same thing that happened with Tebow there for a while, is that you knew the media was going to be all over it. There was going to be scrutiny. If he was he didn't want to be a backup quarterback, but if he would have been, it would have put a lot of pressure on the starter. So there was only key situations and teams that are willing to, to put him in. So I don't think it's ever been a question of whether Kaepernick was good enough to be one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. Is it worth bringing in the distraction around your locker room? Because you're going to go for, if you're a team that's trying to compete or you're bringing this guy in to start, right? You're bringing him in knowing that there is going to be a shift and a focus away from football. Well, I think there's a bigger distraction if he's not the starting quarterback. I think if you bring him in to be the starting quarterback, there's less of a distraction. I believe if he is a backup is the real issue. That's why when Pete Carroll and them tried to bring him in, I believe it was in 2014, it would have been Russell Wilson's backup, and that would have made been a good situation for him. However, he didn't like the money. He didn't like the chance. He didn't have a chance to start. So this is maybe an opportunity for him. I'm never going to criticize him as the player. I think he was a good player, and I'm not going to criticize the choices. Those are his choices to make. But there are repercussions for every choice that we make. And unfortunately, that's him. He became a distraction to whatever football team he was going to be on.
That's the reality, right? The reality is regardless of how you feel about him as a person, him as a player, when you do certain things, you bring certain type of attention. And when you do that in the NFL, that attention can either help bolster your team, distract and take away from your team. And unfortunately for Kaepernick, a lot of teams felt that it was a distraction. It was taking away from the game, taking away from what they wanted to build. And you're just not going to take that chance. Look what Tebow did, right, with Denver. Or not with Denver, with Jacksonville coming back this year. He came back as a tight end. There was a lot of negative that came around that. And as soon as he got a game on the football field, it got exposed. Yeah. And as soon as it got exposed, he was out because you couldn't justify keeping him around anymore.
Bay McIntosh says, Trey Lance isn't ready. The one thing I'll say is I don't think anyone knows if he's ready yet.
No way to know.
I think the best opportunity to know if he's ready is probably Kyle Shanahan, and that coaching staff that's seen him already. But John Lynch kind of said, right, we're not going to know until the first game when he starts taking those snaps if he's all the way ready or not. You're just trying to prepare him as much as possible along the way. So, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo won football games, and that's great for us. But we're turning the page on that, and I think that we respect what Jimmy Garoppolo did. And the only way we're going to know if Trey Lance is actually the one that's a better opportunity right now than Jimmy Garoppolo is if he gets on the field and sees it. And if Trey Lance doesn't play well, then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to point and say, hey, we should have kept Jimmy. But if he plays really well, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to point and say, see, we should have played the kid the whole time. And I think I'm right in the middle. Like, we should have played Jimmy when we played Jimmy, and now it's time to play Trey.
Very true. It's we're getting to that point here in Freak Stomp. You have to put allegedly there. And if you're not putting allegedly about Grant Cohn Dutch ovening his cat, I don't want to know how you know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you.
Yeah,
the Kyle Shanahan factor, then why couldn't he win without Jimmy? Well, injuries. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of injuries. Teams were built differently. Also, your backup quarterback situation was significantly different than it was last year in 2021. The minute, you got Trey Lance in, and the Niners needed to win football game this past season with Trey Lance as a quarterback against the Houston Texans, you won that football game. When the Niners needed to win games in 2020 when Jimmy Garoppolo was out, you didn't win football games. Nick Mullins handed a game against the Eagles the Niners had in their hand. He handed it to them multiple times.
It's really simple. A head coach to win football games in the NFL needs a good quarterback. It's that simple. So when he had a good quarterback, he wins football games. That's why when he has Jimmy Garoppolo and he's a good quarterback, he wins football games.
It's true.
Trey Lance will win football games when he's with the 49ers because he's a good quarterback. That's just the way it is. And if you put any other quarterback that's good with Kyle Shanahan, they're going to win football games. I mean, that's just how it is. This is how the NFL works. The guys that were backing up Jimmy Garoppolo, they weren't good enough quarterbacks to consistently win football games. So, I mean, this is really not that difficult to figure out. With your starting quarterback, you're a better team without it. I mean, that's just the way it works. If he had Kirk Cousins, would he have won football games? Yeah, he would have. That's just how it is.
It's very true. Bay, I'll see what's going on. I'll see if there's any news or anything popping up right now. Oh my goodness, and the Niners have made a move. Former Chiefs cornerback Charvarius Ward intending to sign a 3-year deal worth up to $42 million, including $26.7 million guaranteed with the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if I like that.
You don't know if you like the Charvarius Ward signing?
I don't know if I like that.
How much was it?
$26.7 million guaranteed on a 3-year deal.
Well, that means they're out on Stephon Gilmore.
That would be
they went Charvarius Ward. They went a different route. They went with a cheaper option there. So what is going to be the corresponding move? Are they going to make another move along the defensive line? Are they going to bring back other players? They obviously feel that Stephon Gilmore is too pricey for them. So how much does that equal out to be per year?
Oh, it's going to be just under 10. So about $9 million a year.
Yeah.
Right in that range.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going to be about probably about 8.8 or 8.75.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So, I mean, that's not the end of the world. I don't know if I hate it. The $42 million, though, isn't guaranteed, though. The $42 million is not guaranteed, Anmal. Definitely not guaranteed there. Not even a little bit. I'm going to try and change the thumbnail because we can talk about this now. And Charvarius Ward, breaking news here. This is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Intends to sign a 3-year deal worth $42 million. That's a hefty deal right there. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. Wow. I mean, I know that he had been rumored for the 49ers to be interested in him for a while. So that is very, very interesting because that's $14 million a year. So, I mean, that is kind of what we thought Stephon Gilmore was going to get. So I wonder if Gilmore decided that he was going to go another route. I do not have the same value on Charvarius Ward that I had on Stephon Gilmore. So the fact that they paid him $14 million, but now the 49ers have made a move. So everyone, can kind of see why they didn't pay DJ Jones and Laken Tomlinson. They were looking for a corner. I'm curious how many people are excited about getting a corner now. I mean, that's one of the things the 49ers fans have been pushing pretty consistently.
They just did.
Yeah, we need to get a corner. We need to get somebody in, and they did. They got Charvarius Ward out of Kansas City. So they made a big splash move, Alex. I thought a move was going to come eventually.
I was convinced that if you were going to sign someone like that, it was going to be Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, I did too. I honestly did. And Frank is saying right there, Chandler Jones, go for it. I think you're right. I mean, this kind of starts to signal, right, that they're going in to make a move. Will they also make another move along the defensive line now to go ahead and shore up that defensive line as well? It could be as simple as, bringing back Arden Key, but I would love for them to make another big splashy move.
You are not wrong, Ant. And now we got a nice thumbnail change, and I'm going to create a highlight out of this so we can, well, actually, we'll wait on that. But anyway, Charvarius Ward. Yeah. I mean, that's, 8 point something million a year. That does leave some money there on the table to potentially go after a Chandler Jones or do something else. So interesting situation. Breaking news as we're live, Charvarius Ward signing with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people are right. He did get a lot of penalties before this. He's very grabby. Last year, he cut down on him a little bit. This is interesting. I know a lot of people were high on Charvarius Ward. I'm not as high as I was on like Stephon Gilmore, or one of those guys. And maybe they just heard Gilmore was going another route, so they had to make this move. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Gilmore. But if they chose Ward over Gilmore, that's definitely very interesting.
It definitely is. If they chose Ward over Gilmore, it's going to be interesting. We're going to see what that number looks like, right? What the number looks like for the San Francisco, or not for the San Francisco 49ers, but for Stephon Gilmore. Because if Stephon Gilmore ends up signing around the same contract, I got questions.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of people are wondering what's up with this move. I wonder how many people are going to be excited about the 49ers going this route with Charvarius Ward. I mean, he had a pretty good season last year overall, but this is one of those guys that's a straight lockdown all-pro cornerback. And the fact that you paid him $14 million a year, I'm guessing his base salary is going to be this year. I'm guessing his contract is going to be worked out, so it's not actually $14 million a year, but it's backloaded. And most of that money's not guaranteed. I'm guessing most of the guaranteed money's in the first 2 years, so that way they can move off of him. But yeah, this is kind of interesting. I was expecting them to go Gilmore. I really was. I thought that was the move we were going to see tonight.
He started 12 games this past season. He had 2 interceptions. He did have 10 pass defense, pass breakups. So maybe that's something that he's in the right position, the 49ers feel like, or things of that nature. So 49ers fans, maybe you can get excited about that instead of Stephon Gilmore. I'm not going to lie. I would have preferred Stephon Gilmore.
I'm not going to get excited about the Ward signing compared to Gilmore until I know what Gilmore, got, what his contract looked like. But I don't put Ward up there that close to J.C. Jackson. And so the fact he got only $2.5 million more per year makes me have a lot of questions about that.
Alan, I like that here. I believe in D'Amico's ability to get the best out of Ward. That's what we're all hoping for. McCory says, you got questions when Ward is 25 and Gilmore is 32? Yeah, there's a significant difference in production. And with Gilmore, you could have a couple-year deal in which his money is coming off the books as Nick Bosa and Deebo Samuel money is kicking in, whereas Charvarius Ward, that might not be the case.
Well, I don't think that the years are that way. It was 3 years, $42 million. I don't think the contract would look that much different the same amount of time.
Correct.
So, I mean, yeah, Gilmore's older, but I'm not going to pay someone the same amount of money just because he's younger.
That's not
that doesn't give him more value. You're looking for a short-term fix to that cornerback room because you still have Omri Thomas. You're hoping you can get better. Plus, you can make other routes. No, they needed somebody right now. I get it that they signed him, but I mean, I do wonder why. I mean, maybe this is a bang up move. Maybe this is great. I just didn't see it coming overall.
I didn't see it coming overall either. I still haven't heard how they're going to pay for these moves. There must be something going on. Lou, they have until Wednesday. They have until Wednesday to get themselves under the salary cap. So there's a lot of ways they can do that. They can restructure, they can extend Jimmy Ward. They can extend Robbie Gould. They can restructure Eric Armstead. There's a lot of different things they can do on top of dealing Jimmy Garoppolo by Wednesday as well. And if 49ers fans are that worried, 50% of the fan base that is not Jimmy Garoppolo stands, that are anti Jimmy Garoppolo, believe that they're just going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo and save the money anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So the Niners have until Wednesday. They have until 4 p.m. Eastern to get under the cap. There's a lot of different ways they can go about handling that.
Yeah, they're going to definitely get under it. I mean, they wouldn't make a move like this unless they had it completely planned out. This move, though, it's a little interesting. I heard all the rumors, the last week and a half or so about Charvarius Ward.
We did not think that was an option.
Well, we talked about Charvarius Ward.
We talked about it, but I didn't honestly think they were going to do it.
No, I mean, I thought if they were going to go, well, not for this amount. I was thinking, $10 million was probably the top end for, Charvarius Ward at corner. So he would have been more of a mid-level, cost-effective guy. The fact that they went this route instead of a DJ Reed, for instance, that we could have probably got for a lot less money, it's interesting. I didn't know Charvarius Ward was this high on the market, that he was considered one of these top level guys. But I'll wait and see what the contract looks like.
Heavy Kim KC is coming in saying Ward is a beast. Congrats. So he feels very, very happy for the San Francisco 49ers. Look, at the end of the day, I know he has greatly improved from his first couple of years in the league, in which there were some questions. I know he had one of his better years this last year. I said the same thing though about Arden Key, right? You're taking an unknown. You're taking a guy who hasn't necessarily proven it over the long-term course of his career. Yes, he's coming off of a good year this past season, but that is also, as 49ers fans love to say, and including Nick Newman, one good year. It's just one good year. So you don't necessarily know how that's going to translate. Now, the positives, right? Alan brought this up a little bit ago. You have D'Amico Ryans. You have a very talented, defensive coordinator. You do have a talented roster around. Can that help eliminate some of the stress off Charvarius Ward? Absolutely. I'm just a little miffed because the Niners don't typically sign big free agent cornerbacks. I don't see this as a big free agent cornerback, and we paid him a lot of money.
We did, so he better play like a big free agent cornerback.
He has to.
I think this also signals that either K1 Williams or Jason Verrett are gone as well. So one of those two guys will not be back in San Francisco. Which one it is, we'll find out. But the 49ers have made a move here. Now they're going to be rolling, I guess, with Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward at the cornerback position. What does that mean for Ambry Thomas? There was a big push from 49ers, fans last season that they needed to get Ambry Thomas on the field because they needed to develop. He's not going to be on the field. These two guys are going to start above him unless there's some sort of a move with Emmanuel Mosley we don't know coming. So it appears Ambry Thomas is going to be relegated to being a backup behind Charvarius Ward. And I think a lot of people saw some of the weaknesses that he had in his skills and that he needed to get better and that it was going to take time. But Charvarius Ward is going to be a San Francisco 49er, Alex, and $14 million a year seems like a hefty paycheck to be paying him. We'll see how the contract works out. We'll see how Rafi works it out. If
the guaranteed money doesn't end up being that bag, or in terms of when the money is being paid out is a little more spaced out, or maybe not as crazy at the $14 million a year number, I think everyone will start to feel a little bit better. The initial reactions are just kind of like, why not pay Stephon Gilmore that? Now, Mr. Corey had said, you guys don't know what they were thinking. You don't know what Gilmore told them. Gilmore just started following the Raiders. There is a good chance the the Las Vegas Raiders looked at everything else that was going on in the AFC West, picked up the phone, called Stephon Gilmore, and said, we'll give you a 2-year deal worth $20 million.
I thought that's what I just said. We don't know what their thinking was. Correct. We don't know what Stephon Gilmore chose to decide, because if Stephon Gilmore chose, more money or got offered more money or thought that was a better situation, then the 49ers had to make the next best move. I just didn't think it was going to be paying Charvarius Ward the same amount Stephon Gilmore was rumored to be getting at $14 million a year. So, if Gilmore ended up getting more than that, then that makes a lot of sense.
Then it does make a lot of sense, and it also explains why the numbers.
That why it's higher than it should be. So they had to go on to their next pick. But I'm just saying, $14 million at first glance seems like a lot of money for Charvarius Ward, who I don't think anyone really put him up in their upper echelon of cornerbacks, more kind of the middle of the road. Still one of the better guys, because I think everyone can get excited about. If we were talking about him for $11 million, I think everyone would be okay with it.
Heffy just said the Chiefs were going to pay him $12 million.
Okay.
So, again, if the market is going to get set, right? The market is going to get set at what it's going to get set at, and the Niners are going to have to, right? You're going to have to do something in order to get it to where you need to get it to. Gilmore doesn't want to pay California taxes, as McCory. I wouldn't blame Stephon Gilmore for that.
No, that's something that plays into
100%.
If he's getting $14 million from the Raiders and the 49ers, we're offering you $14 million, it's not worth $14 million because of the taxes. He's not going to have any state taxes in Vegas or to play in Vegas in Nevada. So, yeah, that does play into it, I'm sure, for some of these guys.
Absolutely. Charvarius Ward's $14 million APY with the Niners ranks 11th among NFL corners, tied with Marcus Peters and Trey Waynes. About the price point the 49ers were okay with. Not elite money, but sizable investment in a veteran, says David Lombardi. That's what he just tweeted out as well. We're going to see. We're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to see what the Niners are going to be doing in regards to other moves, right, and other things they're going to be doing. You just tied up a lot of money now at the cornerback position. What's next? Is it edge rusher? Is it interior defensive lineman? Is it wide receiver? What's the next move the Niners are going to make? And this is going to be very interesting. That's for sure.
Well, Ward is going to step in. I seen that Ramon and Emily said Ward is going to step in day one and know the defense. I don't know if he's going to step in day one and know the defense, but the one thing I do know is he's going to step in day one as the starting cornerback.
Absolutely.
So we know who our starting cornerbacks are going to be right now: Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward. If they re-sign Jason Verrett, maybe there's questions about Verrett versus Mosley on the outside. But we still have to figure out the nickel cornerback spot, because I do not believe the 49ers feel comfortable with putting Diamondo Lenore in the nickel spot. So there still needs to be a move there, whether it's in the draft or a free agent signing.
Absolutely. And look, there's a lot of people complain about the Niners not signing anyone and then complain when they do. Hey, it's called being a contrarian.
That was what was going to happen. It was inevitable. Correct. Minus it being one of the players they ultimately wanted. Like if it would have been Chandler Jones, for instance, then it would have got rave reviews. But the fact that it's not, you're going to get some criticism because people believe, what they want to believe, and everyone believes the team should be built differently.
No, should redo that poll, Alex. Don't think this would have been the favorite result. You're right. I don't think anyone thought this would be the next guy. This would be the guy that the Niners signed first. But look, it happens. It gets done. And the Niners have now addressed the cornerback room.
Filthy Swift, putting out 38% completion percentage man-to-man for Ward.
That's good numbers.
Maybe that's a reason.
That's the reason.
Yeah, it could be. Third down, they want to run more man. So then, hey, that makes sense. Jason Verrett's also a good man guy. I see Quest for Six said, I think we'll sign Verrett. That's a possibility as well.
Agreed. Megan, $1.99 super chat. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Show some love, everyone. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you, Megan. We appreciate that. Nick Gann, Ward is good. The F. Look, we're not saying that Ward's not good. That's not what we're saying. We're saying $14 million is a lot when we don't know what Stephon Gilmore's number is going to be. It feels like you could have paid that to Stephon Gilmore, who is a much more proven kind of guy out there that's done a lot more things around the similar amount of time and length.
Yeah, I think it's just a cap number. That's it. It's a number. I think it's just $14 million.
And we don't know what the details are yet.
No, we don't. And that's the thing. It's one of those things you're just going to have to wait and see. And, maybe Gilmore told him he wasn't coming there. And that's fair, too. You have to go to your next best move. And the next best move was Charvarius Moore, according to the 49ers front office. So we'll see how it plays out. The one thing we do know, I seen somebody talking about Ambry Thomas could step up. Ambry Thomas is now relegated to the bench. He's not going to be starting. He doesn't play nickel. He's going to be relegated to the bench for the 49ers. So Ambry Thomas is taking a step back with this move. Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward are going to be the starters, but a lot of people don't think about that. They'll put him in the nickel, and he can't play in the nickel. He's an outside corner.
Trent says sounds like standard money for a starting corner. I would say that sounds like standard money for one of the best corners in the game, top 12.
Right. J.C. Jackson just got 16.5. He set the market for the cornerbacks, so he's $2.5 million, or $3 million, whatever it ends up being, below that standard.
I don't put Charvarius Ward in the same category as J.C. Jackson.
And maybe he is. Maybe he's going to ascend to that.
And this could be a bargain then.
Yeah, and it might end up being the going rate. Sometimes positions take on a different track. I just think my opinion was coming in that I didn't expect Charvarius Ward to garner $14 million. The fact he did is, and I say this all the time, Alex, what is your worth? Whatever someone's willing to pay you.
Absolutely.
So the fact the 49ers were willing to pay him, close to $14 million a year, then he's worth $14 million a year. But now he has to go out there and prove it on the field and make sure he can do it consistently. So far from what we've heard, he did a very good job in Kansas City. I watched a lot of film of him preparing for free agency. I thought he was a bang-up guy, but I thought the $10-11 million range made more sense. Maybe I was undervaluing his ability.
Oh, yeah, I mean, possibly. Nick just said, as a Chiefs fan, I'd say Ward is a tier below J.C. Jackson. Nick had brought up, because someone had asked, how many years has he been a starter? Nick Gittner here and says 3-year starter. The problem is the last 3 years, he hasn't played a full season yet in the last two of the last 3. So he hasn't gotten a full season. So 49ers fans who are like, playing full schedule, being available, that's important. He hasn't had that yet. He hasn't done that quite at this moment.
Trent Payne might be right. I don't know if Ramsey makes $20 million a year or not. I mean,
I'm not sure what the number is.
I would think Ramsey's the number one guy, and if Jackson did reset the market, then Ramsey would reset it again. But you might be right. It might be $20 million. I might have spoke out of place there. I just figured he said it right now in free agency, so I figured everything would follow suit to that.
Yeah, it could have been the case. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's any other information.
Hydro123 says Mosley better get an extension. They should sign Mosley to an extension because it'll save money.
Yeah.
They could take the money they save from Mosley and put it into Jason Verrett or a different nickel corner. So yeah, that would make sense.
True. Javier Vega just tweeted out the Ward deal to me feels like Jimmy's trade is in place. Hopefully ends up in a good place. He says hopefully Indy or New Orleans because Carolina is an absolute cluster F. It's an S show, Ant. It's an S show.
Yeah, I think they've had this thing pretty much cleared up. I think the Jimmy thing has been being worked on, and they're just a little bit away from it. They're going to make the move eventually. Very true.
The very, very true, Ant. Look, I'm excited. I'm excited about what's going on. I'm excited about this information. This is news. This is huge news. This is addressing a need. This is addressing a need that a lot of 49ers fans felt the Niners needed to address, and they just did in a big way. At the moment, it looks like $14 million a year for Charvarius Ward. You've now shored up your cornerback room in terms of who are the two guys starting on the outsides, potentially. Now the question is, what are they doing at the nickel? Is it going to be Emmanuel Mosley sliding in and re-signing Verrett and moving him outside? Is it signing Verrett and moving Verrett inside of the nickel? Is it drafting a guy? Is there another name? Are they just going to go after K'Wan Williams again and bring him back into the fold with the 49ers? There's still other issues, I guess, to address in the cornerback room, and still moves to be made for the 49ers. So, wow, man. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get moved, or they wouldn't have made this deal. I think it does signal, that they're going to do that. Now, we do know they could restructure Armstead and Kittle and extend Jimmy Ward and free up enough cap space to make the Ward move and get under the salary cap. So those are things that could be done. But I do believe the Jimmy Garoppolo thing is going to be imminent. It will happen, I believe, by Wednesday at 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. Eastern. I think that's going to happen, and then we're going to have a better idea of what they're going to do. But I don't think they're done. I think they're going to be out there and they're going to make a couple more moves, and we'll see. But yeah, Mosley. Jason said Mosley can't play slot.
He 100%.
He can. But are we rolling? The way that he played last year? Are we going to roll with Ambry Thomas on the outside? I mean, are we gonna put Mosley inside with Ambry Thomas on the outside? I don't think so. I think Mosley's the guy on the outside until if they did bring back a Jason Verrett, for instance.
So Nick, by the way, Nick Lange is saying only 26.7 guaranteed out of the 40 million.
Yeah, that's good.
That is.
Yeah, I mean, so more than likely that's going to be front loaded over the first couple of years. So you're gonna be able to get out from under that contract after a couple of years if he doesn't play well. You're hoping he plays dynamite. You're signing him to an extension eventually, but 49ers going out there and making a move on Charvarius Ward, I think it caught me by surprise. The main thing, not the name. The name didn't catch me by surprise as much as just how much money he got. But if that's what the market is for a cornerback, then that's what they had to do.
100%. If that's the market for a cornerback, then you were going to have to overpay a little bit, and that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you have to overpay and pay a little bit more, right? You let some of your guys go. Someone else had brought up over here on Twitter.
Nick keeps saying, how does that affect the Jimmy trade? It doesn't.
So
it just means that the Jimmy trade is probably more imminent because you're using more money, and by Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, you have to be under the salary cap. They were $9 million over, and then
if it's $14 million a year, right? If it's $14 million a year and you were $9 million over, that means you're sitting at $23 million over the cap.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, if you're dealing Jimmy Garoppolo, all of a sudden you're back over $2 million.
You're $2 million.
You're under the cap, so you're in a positive spot. So the Niners are again. The ideal situation here is if you're paying that much money with how much you're already over, it would make you tend to believe that the Jimmy Garoppolo deal is, if not almost done, really close to being done.
Also, like I brought up before, Armstead, Kittle, and Jimmy Ward reworking their deals, get the money, also the $23 million that you need. So
very true.
Those are also possibilities. So it's not 100%, but
so also this now means potentially, Ant, this is a clean cancellation of 4th round compensatory picks for the Niners and the Chiefs. The Chiefs lost Ward but got Justin Reed. The Laken Tomlinson was lost by San Francisco. You picked up Charvarius Ward. In terms of the money, it may work out that those compensatory picks now could potentially get wiped out.
Yeah, but
so at least one,
not the DJ Jones,
not the DJ Jones one.
Yeah, but I think I think you're not worried about if you're bringing in an impact player. You're not worried about a 4th round compensatory pick if you're bringing in an impact player. So
absolutely,
that I'm not really worried about. But they did turn away from a defensive lineman and go corner, and this is one of the conversations we were having. I just don't think you can value a defensive lineman the same way you value a corner. And I saw somebody else talk about us paying McGlinchey close to $11 million. He's a right tackle. I mean, and minus us drafting a right tackle, a going rate for a right tackle is going to be, well over that. So he's an affordable right tackle right now. I know a lot of 49er fans don't like Mike McGlinchey, but at 10.8, he's still affordable while they make a decision on what they want to do at right tackle. Could that eventually be Jalen Moore? Could that eventually be someone they draft in this draft? We'll see. But right now, the affordable at $10.8 million is Mike McGlinchey.
It is affordable, and it's hard. It is absolutely difficult, Ant, to... Someone should say F those picks. I absolutely love that.
What is up, Jay in the Bay?
Jay in the Bay, how you doing, man? What is good, my guy? What is good? Good right tackles cost $10 million, says Maurice. You're right. And listen, I know the issue is that some people don't feel McGlinchey is a good right tackle, but he's the best run blocking right tackle in all of football when he's been healthy.
Well, he's their best option. I mean, what's the other option? Is it Morgan Moses? I mean, this is the conversation we had.
Morgan Moses is not better than Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what's La'el Collins going to make this year? $10 million. I mean, that's just kind of the going rate. And to get Collins, you would have to make, trade a draft pick. So you're not doing that. So I think right now he's just the best option.
It's true. He's definitely the best option. This is an interesting situation, though. This is a very, very good here. Avion Davis, never heard of this guy, and we giving him $40 million. What the F? I'm going to sleep. This S is crazy. We better sign someone that we've heard of. There is no making this fan base happy. And you know what? I'm all for it because it brings tons of entertainment and tons of great content just like that right there.
I think there's a lot of people that didn't hear about him. I mean,
Sure.
Kansas City's not exactly known for their defense. If it's not defensive line, they got Chris Jones, and Frank Clark and that, and then the Honey Badger. But the corners are kind of forgotten people, so that makes sense why they wouldn't know who he is. We've kind of, been on him and watching him a little bit, but he's definitely been rumored to the 49ers recently.
It's true. Nicholas Romo, is there still a possibility that we get Gilmore? No.
I would say no.
No.
There's no way.
Unless there's another big move coming and the Niners are moving off of someone that we're not expecting.
I would say if they were going to pay that much money for another player, it would be a defensive edge rusher.
I think Chandler Jones is hopefully the likely scenario.
Maybe. I mean, you would think, though, it might not be that much money, right? They might go with now a more affordable option like Dante Fowler.
I wouldn't mind Dante Fowler.
Maybe they convince Zadarius Smith to take a cheaper contract to come in. I think those are possibilities. Now, Melvin Ingram, for instance, that's another guy.
McCory says Honey Badger just left for the Raiders. So there you go.
I think Honey Badger, that might be where Gilmore goes as well. The Raiders might go all in on Honey Badger and Stephon Gilmore. They got to be able to compete with that crazy AFC West.
It's very true. It's very true. Marvin asked, thoughts on MVS? And he's saying Marquez, Valdez, Scantling. Big body, super speedy. Also rated in the top 15 in the league in run blocking as a wide receiver, meaning probably a Kyle Shanahan guy.
Yeah, he's definitely a Kyle Shanahan guy. I think this is the NFL version of Christian Watson. And that's the ability that he has. And so many people have hyped up Christian Watson, and for good reason. He's a good football player. But I think that this guy would be a perfect fit for what the Kyle Shanahan offense looks like under Trey Lance. You need a guy that can take the top off the defense at a big target who is good for Aaron Rodgers. He'll put a lot of slot receivers in some bad situations. So I think adding a guy with his talents had to be done with Trey Lance. So adding a speed threat is what has to be done. We'll see if MVS is that guy. I think there's some other options as well. Will Fuller's still out there. But I think MVS would be probably maybe number one on the list for the 49ers. I just didn't know how affordable that was going to be.
Very true. It was going to be very interesting to see what would have happened here. David Hasselhoff, David Hasselhoff, the great David Hasselhoff, is here. Cutback Crew.
That's awesome.
Just for you. That's right. You couldn't get David Hasselhoff anywhere else in 49er land, but you can get him right here on the
We got the Knight Rider.
It's true, we do have the Knight Rider here.
Wow.
But DJ Reed would have been cheaper, says David Hasselhoff, and you're not wrong.
I agree. I do agree with that. They must think that Charvarius Ward is a much better player than DJ Reed, and you know what? Maybe he's going to be. I'm not going to question them right now because they make a lot of decisions that are really good decisions for this football team. So cornerback, they've brought in some good free agents along the way. They developed Emmanuel Mosley. But let's see what happens. Let's see what the guys got.
Supercell Chaser, never heard of him. Is he a backup? No, he was a starter. He has started over the last couple seasons about 26 games, and has definitely improved the past couple seasons. But there are some weaknesses in his game. However, he was very, very good in man. And what do we know about the 49ers? What did we see this last year of San Francisco? Third down, you can almost guarantee DeMeco Ryans was going to line up in some sort of man coverage and try and bring some sort of blitz or drop guys out late and do some sort of spy action and maybe roll into a cover one look. The Niners did that a lot this year, which means this guy had a lot of success in man. Then DeMeco Ryans feels like this is a great scheme fit for the 49ers defensively going forward.
Oh, they definitely wanted to trend towards man. I mean, that's one of the things. You need to have a guy that can lock up one side of the field on occasion when you're bringing a blitz or when you want to bring an extra guy into the box. So, yeah, this is something they had to do. So having someone with those skills is going to benefit the football team on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, they were always going to make a move at corner. You just didn't know at what range. Was it going to be a high-priced guy? So Charvarius Ward is the guy they targeted. Is the guy they went after. I think they were in on Stephon Gilmore. I think that was definitely happening. But obviously, Gilmore's number was a little bit higher than the 49ers were willing to go for, and they went for Ward. And now Ward's going to be the guy that mans the one side of the defense opposite of Emmanuel Mosley.
Very true. Tommy Huxley Ant with a great comment here. Who are all these newbies in the chat?
There you go.
There's a lot of new people here, and if you are new here, Megan's been spamming it. Gary's been spamming it as well. Subscribe. Become the newest member of the Cutback Crew. Hit that subscribe button because I don't know if y'all know this. Not a lot of other 49ers content creators.
Definitely welcome in the chat.
Absolutely welcome.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No. Renee, they are definitely welcome in the chat. You are all welcome in the chat.
Yeah.
It's just for the day oneers who've been here since we were last year at this same time last year when we were sitting at just a couple of hundred subs. They're coming in now going, wait, hold on a second. 350 in the live stream. What's happening? You know what? We absolutely love it. They just love to see it.
You know why I love it too? Because we get a lot of different takes, a lot of different opinions on 49ers football. That's what we want to have the conversations about. And you're seeing it all throughout the chat right now. Some people are, we overpaid for Charvarius Ward. Some people are like, who the heck is this guy? And other ones are like, hey, this is a bang-up job. Good job by the 49ers front office. I think all the fields are all involved in this because we waited so long as 49er fans for them to make a move. It was about 12 hours exactly from the time that you were able to tamper legally, and then you end up getting a player.
Tamper legally.
You gotta love tamper legally when Alex Kappa signs a deal 5 seconds.
Literally 5 seconds.
Yeah,
it's almost like everything was in place already, and they may have tampered. Nick Lynch said, "Just sub now." Welcome to the Cutback Crew, Kyle.
Thank you,
Casterline. Welcome to the Cutback Crew as well. Holy cow! And we got a bunch there. Bench Heater. Sean Murnane as well. Welcome to the Cutback Crew.
For joining in.
That is a bunch of them, man. Oh my goodness gracious! Cutback Crew rolling here. Welcome the new members. Welcome to the channel. We appreciate all the love here. By the way, Maurice, I want to shout out here. Been a subscriber. For the good guys. Just like to sit back in the chat. So Maurice, then this is one of the first times I've seen your name pop up in live streams. I'm glad that you're finally interacted, man, and glad to have you part of the community.
And thanks everyone. Bay Macintosh as well. Thanks for subbing. I love it. Maurice came through and hit right off the bat. Hit hard. When you get into chat, let people know who you are. Let them know what your opinions are. I think it's cool. Just so everyone knows, every single opinion is welcome here.
Absolutely.
I don't care what spectrum you're on as far as you're going crazy, you're going not. Just throw it out there. We're all going to have a conversation about it. It's fun.
Nick Giltner, welcome to the Cutback Crew as well. Marvin, welcome to the Cutback Crew as well.
Supercell Chaser, RIP Scott Hall, NWO for life.
Absolutely.
Thank you everyone that's hearing it. We really appreciate it. Keep the another one for the good guys going. Just everyone keep joining in.
We want to keep it going for the good guys. Show Scott Hall some love as well. Give some nice Scott Hall love in the chat as well right now because we're big fans of this guy.
Yeah.
And anyone who's new here to the channel, that has been the join subscriber thing, as well as our anytime anyone donates super chats, memberships, things of that nature, we get some Scott Hall love here. We always chalk another one up at the end of the episodes here on the live streams. So it was a rough day. It was a tough day hearing about that with Scott Hall, but we're glad that we've had that stuff in place because it's a good way to remember and honor him by.
Yeah, well done, and we have David Hasselhoff getting back at it. So he said actually this was a good pickup, so he's on board.
Thank God for the Hoff, man.
Yeah.
What would we do? What would we do without the Hoff?
Yeah. Joseph Fisher said, good guy. We appreciate you, Joseph Fisher.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. David Naylor, Ward is good. This is a good move. We needed a mid-tier cornerback, need money for all the guys we were re-signing, and need another guard. So David likes it. I like that take there. A lot of people feel that way.
Question for David Naylor. What guard, do you want to see them sign? I know there's some low budget kind of guys on the free agent market. Do you think Aaron Banks could be one of those guys? I'm curious, how they think the 49ers are going to address the interior offensive line position.
Absolutely. And Ostrich, welcome to the TCC as
welcome.
well. Megan with the 199 super chat. RIP Scott Hall. Absolutely. Traffic, welcome to the Cutback Crew as well. Twisted Clown here with an interesting one. I see the Raiders getting Brady, stacking the AFC West. Thoughts? I don't want him on the Niners. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. Supercell Chaser, welcome to the Cutback Crew.
Yeah.
But that would be nuts if the Raiders did something like that. The problem is, right, Bruce Arians has tongue-in-cheek come out and said, 5 first-round picks or whatever it is. I don't think there's any way that they're actually trying to move off this guy.
No. Tom Brady's going to be in Tampa Bay. The AFC race is the AFC West race. The one thing I know about Tom Brady, he does not want to be in the AFC West.
No, he does not want to be in the AFC West at all.
I think why I'm here, he says, I wonder if Gilmore is going to the Raiders. I think so.
It looks that way.
I think Gilmore might be. We'll see how it plays out. We just know he's not going to San Francisco at this point. I can't see the 49ers paying 2 cornerbacks, $14 million per year. Boy, would that be a huge change up, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Android user, you are 100% correct. Welcome everyone new to the stream. Welcome indeed. Look at all of those new subscribers. And I'm wondering if this means Gilmore are going to the Raiders. We just saw that one. Where was the one I was just looking at here? I lost my place. Is there any way you guys still see us getting someone like my boy DJ Reed, said Austin Hess?
I think it's possible because DJ Reed could play the nickel.
It's true.
So that is definitely a possibility. I like DJ Reed a lot. I would love to see him come back to San Francisco. I never wanted to see him go. The 49ers gambled, trying to get him with the injury designation and, waiving him with the injury designation, hoping no one would sign him because he wasn't supposed to come back till the end of the season. But Pete Carroll being Pete Carroll was like, no, we're going to snag one of your players, and ended up working out very well for Seattle and working out for DJ Reed because he ended up starting, and he's been a bang-up player. I think he would be a solid addition. Just what's his money going to look like? Because
that's the question.
Now with Charvarius Ward getting $14 million, you got to think DJ Reed's money's up there in the double digits as well because he's been one of those guys that's played really well over the last couple seasons.
He really, really has. So we're going to see. I was trying to see. I thought I saw something come through, but it was someone just thinking the Niners were up next going to be going after Jason Verrett. I thought I saw something there, but look at that. Jorge says, are we losing K'Wan Williams and Tart? We may be moving on from K'Wan Williams. We may be going a different direction with the Charvarius Ward signing. They may be going after maybe a cheaper option potentiality or just a different direction in terms of what a guy can do in space, because they may be looking to upgrade someone who can cover in the slot. When you got guys like Cooper Kupp and Tyler Lockett that you're going to be facing, multiple times a year, you may be looking to make a change in that area. As for Tart, I don't know. There are a lot of safeties available, a lot. And we just saw what the market is for some of them. Is someone going to want to pay Jaquiski Tart, significantly more money? Maybe. Tart could end up back in San Francisco, but I'm not sure at this point.
Yeah, Tart's a wave 2 guy, so he's not one of those guys that's up to be signed right now. I think the only way he would sign is if, he accepted whatever the qualifying offer the 49ers had offered him. They said, hey, we value you at this number, and if he was willing to take that after he went out there. But I think he's a guy that you could see in 2-3 days from now possibly come back. I think he's still on the radar because they're not going to have a lot of money to pay secondary after you're paying someone like Charvarius Ward. So you're going to have to make some moves. I'm sure Jimmy Ward is going to sign an extension so that way you can free up some money to sign potentially Jaquiski Tart back. I think he would do it for his buddy. But there's still some decisions that need to be made in that secondary, and nickel corner is going to be one of them. So I think there are options out there. There's always potential for K'Wan Williams to come back. I just think that they have to decide between K'Wan Williams and Jason Verrett. And if you decide to go Jason Verrett because of his versatility to play inside and outside, that might spell the end of K'Wan Williams.
Very well could. And in a GZN, welcome to the Cutback crew. Someone had just mentioned, I think it was Brandon Vince, said Lockett is not going to be back in Seattle. Well, he might not be. Marcus Castillo, welcome to the Cutback crew as well. He could end up not being back in San Francisco or in Seattle. Excuse me. Seattle is in looking like full rebuild mode. No Deshaun Watson potentiality there either. So it looks like there could be a situation where you move on from a couple of these guys. I know they've said all those guys are on the market or on the block anyway, but until they get dealt, you just don't know. And if you're the 49ers, you have to prepare for what you got to face in the NFC West, and you got to face a lot of things. And Arizona is not just going to sit on their hands and do nothing in this free agency period. They're going to eventually start going after some of these wide receivers as well and doing some things and trying to bolster the weapons offensively.
Yeah, I mean, they did bring back Zach Ertz. They signed him to a pretty solid contract. Yeah, so they're going to make some moves. They've made, some special teams moves and kind of some more shrewd moves, 49er-ish type of free agency so far for Arizona. They've went strong before, but I think they're gonna be cautious. But yeah, I think that Seattle's up in the air though. Lockett could be gone. DK Metcalf could be gone. I think if they kept him, the addition of Noah Fant would be pretty dynamic. The problem is the quarterback is Drew Lock. I mean, a lot of talent, but I mean, he hasn't proven that he can be a good starting quarterback in this league. So until they get somebody that I'm more fearful of, I'm not worried about Seattle this year in the NFC West.
Definitely not worried about Seattle in the NFC West at this point in time. We had a couple guys says Freak Stomp seems like a mistake to me. How good is this guy? Not great. Walsh here says, how good is Ward though? 2019, 2020, he was underrated last season. Was he really that guy? I don't know. Feels like we needed a lockdown corner. This is why you and I, when the news first broke, we didn't go through the moon over the top with this. Yeah. It was just one of those things where it was like, okay, let's figure out what's going on. Let's take a look here and see what's happening with this Charvarius Ward signing, because we felt like, all signs were kind of pointing to not Jason Verrett, but Stephon Gilmore. You don't go that route. So is Stephon Gilmore getting an outrageous sum of money or more than you're willing to pay? And you're looking at Charvarius Ward, and the thing right now that we're both seeing is it seems like all signs point to the Niners wanting a guy who could do very well in man coverage, and Charvarius Ward kind of fits that bill. And so he was the best option available. So you made sure you got the guy, basically the next guy on your list.
I think when it came down to it, there was a little bit of just surprise initially at the amount of money attached to his name. Saying that they signed Charvarius Ward was not shocking to me in the least. I mean, shoot, we had a graphic ready for it, right? We were ready for this. I think the thing that got to us the most was the fact that it was $14 million. Once you get over the initial shock of seeing $14 million tied to Charvarius Ward, then you start understanding who the player is. But maybe, I think we're all expecting more of a $10, $11, $12 million contract. I think that's fair for anyone to assume. The fact that he got it means he's worth it. I mean, that's just the way it is. We'll see, though, if he can prove it on the field. He has to prove it for the 49ers. So, this is going to be one of those moves that it's hit or miss. And if it hits, wow, this is a bang-up job. They did a great job of helping fix the secondary. And if they didn't, they're going to have to live with the fact they gave this guy $14 million a year.
They are definitely going to have to live with that. Rand DMZ, welcome to the Cutback crew. We just had a new subscriber. It was Gary?
Yeah.
Gary, welcome to the Cutback crew as well. All of you joining the Cutback crew right now, subscribing, becoming the newest Cutback crew members. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Why I'm here also asked, what are your guys' thoughts on the Jimmy Garoppolo trade situation and the trade issue? Look, I think the Niners have a value in mind. I think the front runner team is the Indianapolis Colts. You and I have both said this now, and you and I both agree and have said this now a couple times on this live stream, which has been going for quite a bit of time. But we've been talking about this and talking about this Jimmy Garoppolo situation, and it feels like the Niners have the Colts kind of between a rock and a hard place. The Colts wanted to move off of Carson Wentz. They wanted to get a better quarterback in. Seems like they're interested in Jimmy Garoppolo, which would mean they think he's a better option than Carson Wentz, which therefore would lead you to believe that they should give up a little bit more than what they got for Carson Wentz. And we both think the Colts are trying everything they can to not have to give that up.
Yeah, I mean, they're at a standstill. They're looking at each other dead in the eyes. Both of them have made their stances, and now they're waiting for the other one to blink. And I think what it comes down to is there's a timetable for this, and they all know that. And when push comes to shove and this deadline, gets close, one of them is going to blink and they're going to make a decision. The Colts want to get Jimmy Garoppolo. They don't want to have the risk of Carolina not getting Deshaun Watson, jumping back into the fray, and then missing out. Frank Reich and and Ballard there in Indianapolis can't afford to have a rookie quarterback. They just can't. So they have to make a move, and that move is Jimmy Garoppolo. It was always going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Chris Ballard tried to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo after the 2019 season, and the 49ers wouldn't allow him to go anywhere. They also turned down Tom Brady in the same offseason. So I think that this is one of those things where it's a standstill. At some point, they're going to reach an agreement, and one team is going to come out on the better end, but both teams, I think, are going to be excited about the move. The Niners are going to be excited. They get the draft capital, that they can build a team around Trey Lance. And I think the Colts are going to get excited that they have a quarterback that knows how to win football games, because ultimately when you have a good run game like they do with Jonathan Taylor and a very good defense, you got to feel excited about your potential of playing in the AFC South.
Absolutely. And absolutely indeed. And LaFear Upshur as well. Welcome to the Cutback Crew. We must have missed that a little bit earlier.
There it comes right now.
Look at that.
Well done.
Wow. Hey, Stream Elements, pick up your game. Come on, man. I shouldn't be seeing that. I shouldn't be calling it out before it happens. But hey, nonetheless, it is what it is. Look, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and everyone feels differently. Corey just said if the Colts wanted Garoppolo, they would have traded for him by now. A lot of people may feel that way, but the Niners are the ones who, at the end of the day, have to pull the trigger. So if the Colts have offered something up and the Niners are saying no, it's because the Niners want a little bit more and are thinking as soon as the Deshaun Watson deal goes down, there's going to be a little bit more of a bidding happening, because another team is going to be trying to not be the last team standing, right? You don't want to be the last team who hasn't signed a quarterback. If you're the last team who hasn't signed a quarterback, you're probably not doing anything this year.
Yeah, I mean, you think Carolina wants to go into the year with Sam Darnold as their quarterback?
Heck no.
No. So if they move out on Deshaun Watson, you know what they're going to do? They're going to be calling the 49ers about Jimmy Garoppolo, because he's a better option. Even if he's a bridge guy, he's a better option, because there's not very many starting quarterbacks, initially right off the bat in this draft. There's not guys that can step in day one and start. So I think this is one of those things where you're just waiting. You're anticipating a move coming, and I think Niner fans have just been anticipating it too long, because we were kind of hoping it was going to be, already happening at the end of February, and we're just sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm just hoping that eventually we get rewarded with a big move. Jimmy Garoppolo gets to move to hopefully Indianapolis, and we get some nice draft capital back. So I would love to get a nice second-round pick in this draft and be able to potentially go after a Christian Watkins or Watson or one of these great players that are right there in that early 40s of the draft.
Josh, I'm going to trust you. You said Ward's a monster. Trust me.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to trust you, Josh.
Yeah, I'm going to trust Josh.
I'm going to put my faith in you, man.
You know why I'm going to trust Josh? He has one name.
He has one name.
Yeah, I like that.
Just like, what is he, Seal?
Forget all the rest of it. Well, I'm Josh, okay? I don't care what all the other ones call each other. I'm Josh. Okay, I like that.
I like that.
But I think so. I mean, and the stats that they're throwing out are pretty solid, so I love it.
They do. They actually do. Do you think this signing points to Jimmy being moved ASAP tomorrow, potentially? Kyle, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? It could be in the middle of the night tonight. I mean, don't forget.
Yeah.
Last year we broke the Trent Williams news. Like literally, Trent Williams tweeted out a thing that was basically confirming he was coming back.
It was an Instagram story. Yeah.
We went live. We went live and premiered a video almost immediately and broke that down. That was literally in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. It 100% can. It 100% can happen.
Yeah, I mean, we all had a feeling that this move was going to happen. I said a move is going to happen tonight, and I thought so. Yeah. I do believe the Jimmy Garoppolo thing is going to happen before the Wednesday deadline, at 4 Eastern. But we might have to wait all the way until Wednesday. But I think they're going to get something done. Somebody will eventually blink, and if it has to be the 49ers, they'll blink to get under the salary cap. They won't cut them, but I think eventually they're going to reach an agreement. I think it's going to be something satisfactory that fans will feel good about, and also the Colts and the 49ers will feel good about as well.
It's true. Ward was paid more because of California taxes, as someone said. Look,
could be. No, it 1,000% could be the case. Taxes here are crazy.
They are outrageous.
Yeah,
they are 100%.
And don't even get into gas prices.
Let's not get into that. Let's not go there. Charvarius Moore coming back also says Bebop Jones. We cannot forget that. Marcus Cecile, what's up? I'm new. Welcome, my guy. Glad to have you here.
What's up?
Kyle said, bring me Honey Badger now. I haven't been able to confirm this or not. I haven't seen it. But the reports are and the rumors are that apparently he may be signing potentially with the Raiders.
As I think about 6 hours ago, there were rumors that he was close to a deal with the Raiders. So this has been something that's been trending all day. The fact that, Justin Reed went to Kansas City, I think, opens the door for that to even be more of a potentiality, because we all know Tyrann Mathieu. What does he like? Is almost as much as money? Revenge. So he would love to get revenge on the Kansas City Chiefs for letting him go.
So Jan is the one who said that. So that may be,
okay,
that may
thanks,
be the case. Jan. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
Jan.
thanks,
we
Jan.
really
Appreciate
it. How did we afford him, says Stephen Duarte. Well, Stephen, this is something that gets really misconstrued and misunderstood by a lot of fans, not just 49ers fans. This is just fans around the league. They get this confused and mixed up, right? Right now, what you have with this period is what the 49ers and all teams have to do is they're allowed to sign whoever they want up until Wednesday for this free agency period anyway, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. At that point, you have to be under the salary cap. So if the Niners wanted to, they could sign a bunch of guys, move themselves $30, $40 million over the cap, and as long as you can find a way to get yourself under the cap by Wednesday, you're good.
Yeah, because all these are not signings; these are agreements. We remember Anthony Barr from Minnesota had agreed to sign with another football team, and then changed his mind. I believe it was the Jets, I think, and then he ended up changing his mind. He's like, you know what? No, I don't want to go there. I'm going to go back to Minnesota. They could change their minds, but usually they don't. They agree to these terms and they stick pretty firm with them. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. In this period, you can sign as many players as you want, pay as much money, presumably as you want, because it's not official. None of it becomes official until the new league year starts on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's when the top 51 contracts have to be under the salary cap, which is a little over $208 million. So that's what we're waiting for.
True. That's what we're waiting for. And Lalo Martinez and Cutback Crew member and one of the guys one of the first members of the Cutback Madden League over on Patreon. If you enjoy Madden gameplay and things of that nature, you can watch us over there playing some Madden football. Hey, bro, how you guys doing? Keep up the good work and content. He thinks he's going to be worth it. 25 years old. Last year was ranked first and third in the whole NFL in lowest completion percentage. He thinks him and Manuel Mosley are a great pairing. Glad to hear Lalo's feeling good about that. Berardo, man, I'm happy about that.
Yeah,
man.
I kind of like the 25 years old. I'm not going to, I don't hate on that at all. It's a young guy that you can
definitely
develop.
A positive thing.
Yeah, that he's a young guy. It's just, I think the $14 million is what screams it. And you know what, if this is the going market, Stephon Gilmore gets, $15, $16 million. And then also you see how this guy plays this year. If he plays up to that potential, it's a bang up signing. I mean, you're not gonna argue with it. Well, we're really arguing over a couple $1 million. I think it's just the main mere shock of not seeing it say $12 million when they sign him or $11 million, but saying $14 million per year. But that's okay. We know how Parag works out these deals, and more than likely this contract is going to work out with a base salary that's low this year, so the 49ers are able to sign other free agents and make other moves.
Tommy, you were right. I got so caught up with some of the questions that came through. I did miss the super chat. There was a $2 super chat from Tommy Huxley. And
how dare you, sir?
I'm just the worst. Yeah. Tommy, admonish me.
He's the worst, Tommy. You're the best.
You are. Oh, and actually, he's the GOAT. I'm the GOAT is what Tommy said for $2 super chat. Tommy, a day oneer of the Cutback Crew. Literally I think it was pre 100 subs on this channel. Yeah. Tommy's been around for a while.
Tommy sent me an absolute brilliant reel over on Instagram the other day. Really? It's fantastic. No, yeah, the boots were made for walking, but she fell face first on the ground. It was fantastic. Loved it. Thank you, Tommy, for that.
All the good stuff. Yeah. All the good stuff. We appreciate that. And look, if you're new to this channel and you're enjoying this stream, you've enjoyed what we brought to the table so far, we're really glad. If you've subscribed already, great. You're really helping the channel. Hit that like button as well. The likes are going to help in the algorithm. All of your comments as well is fantastic. Yeah. It's going to help. It's going to help a lot. We really appreciate that. But if you want more content, we got stuff over on Patreon exclusively. That's just over there. 49ers Cutback in Time Season 1 is up that you can watch in its entirety. We have Big Yikes from Season 1 as well. Incredible takes. Incredibly bad takes from all different people all over from the 49ers all season long that you can watch and have a good laugh at.
Manraj
Shahal, welcome to the Cutback Crew, my guy. Hope everything's going well. Hope you're putting in that work in the offseason and get ready for next year for basketball season, my guy. Former player. So there's that. Look at that. Love that support there. But over on Patreon, lots of exclusive content there. You can become a channel member here on YouTube as well. You get exclusive live streams here, channel member, only live streams, early access to videos, as well as some other things that will be coming down the road, and including some exclusive shows that our channel members will get to participate in. So if you want to help support the channel in any way, you can do that. Also, be able to be a part of shows here on the channel here in the near future, in the next month or so, you'll want to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting time. But really what you want to do is hit the notification bell, because every time the 49ers make a move, we're going to try to go live.
And guess what? That's going to be the rest of this week. The rest of this week. You have the potential to get notified as soon as we go live about everything that's going on with the San Francisco 49ers.
That's what's going to be fun. And the funnest part is the interaction with everybody that brings it into the comment section.
And you're not going to have to worry about us going live to talk about the Rams guy that they signed, or a big name guy. No. We're going to talk about all things 49ers here. So if you want 49ers news, 49ers content, right here, 49ers Cutback.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Oh, Maurice is from the Valley? Where are you at, Maurice? I want to know where Maurice is from.
Absolutely, Maurice.
I didn't see that one. Megan said we're also in the Valley. So yeah, that's nice.
Exactly. It's going to be absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Are we going to run more man coverage outside the hatches? That's Omri and Charvarius' skill set. I'd say, says Clayton, there's no guarantee necessarily that
we got a new subscriber.
Ombri's going to be the case. And NYCE1039, welcome to the Cutback crew.
Welcome.
Look, I think you're going to have oh my goodness gracious. Michael Robinson, welcome to the Cutback crew.
Appreciate it, Michael.
We do. I don't know if Ombri's necessarily going to be the guy that's next to Charvarius Ward. It's probably going to be Emmanuel Moseley. I would say at this point it's E-Man. E-Man didn't give up a touchdown last year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think E-Man is the guy. I really do. I think the only way that it's not E-Man on the outside is if it's Jason Verrett on the outside. Jason Verrett would have to beat him out in camp, but I would think Emmanuel Moseley kind of earned that a little bit. I mean, he played so well last year. His numbers are really good. The only numbers that are pretty equivalent to that is Jason Verrett in 2020. I think those are your two guys. I think Omri Thomas proved that he's got a little bit more development to go. I think we're excited about his potential. But I think this signing goes to show that maybe they're not ready for Omri Thomas to start this year. And in fact, I think he's on the outside looking in because he doesn't play nickel. He's not built to play nickel. I'd be surprised if he did. Emmanuel Moseley can play inside and Jason Verrett can play inside. But I think Omri Thomas with this signing now takes a step back. But you know what? You got depth in case there's an injury. Omri Thomas is one of those guys you feel comfortable coming in as a depth piece.
You're not wrong there. You're definitely not wrong there. And Maurice says he's in Sacramento.
Oh, nice.
Look at that. Like 45 minutes away. That's crazy.
45 minutes? How fast do you drive on the freeway?
I'm thinking traffic.
Yeah.
I'm thinking traffic.
I'll be there in like 35.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, just so my sister lives in Natoma, so yeah.
True. And I went to Sac State. I graduated from Sac State. Mauricio Sanchez.
What's up?
Welcome to the
Mauricio?
Welcome, my guy.
Yeah.
JV God, please, says Bebop Jones. JLE was in Vacaville. That's awesome. Ryderwood, Washington right now is where Gary's at. So Gary doing his thing. Mod Gary, show Mod Gary some love in the chat. Been killing it tonight because I don't know if you'll know this. I and our editor here in studio, if you don't know our editor who's right over here, who's a big dumb face and does stupid stuff sometimes. We that's a lot for us to do. It's a lot for us to do, and that's why we got mods like Gary here and Megan who are killing it right now in the chat. We really appreciate what they do. So chat, show them some love as well. Give them some love. McCory wants Trevor Penning in the draft, stud offensive tackle.
You know what? I watched film on Trevor Penning just recently. I broke into it a little bit more. I think he's going to be a top 15 pick, but I don't think he's going to be there's going to be an opportunity for the 49ers to get him.
It's going to be hard.
But I really do like him. I think he would be a bang-up right tackle for the 49ers. I think that would be great. If you could take the draft capital you get from Jimmy Garoppolo and move into the first round and get him and get Penning, I would be willing to do that.
And move McGlinchey inside the guard?
Yeah, I mean, you could move him, or you could move off of him, right? You could trade him and free up the $10.8 million, go with a little bit of a cheaper version. If you're in the top 15, Penning will still cost you $5-6 million, but it is cheaper rate. But yeah, I think that he's a bang-up guy. He's going to be a good football player in this league. But I don't know if the 49ers are going to have an opportunity. So there's going to be guys in the range where they pick. We don't know if they're going to be interior guys, though, more like Cole Strange and guys like that I've been watching even more and more film of.
Absolutely. And Scott Fowler, welcome Scott. To the CCC, my guy. Welcome. Jim Thurkill, who is this guy, fellas? There's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of excitement and a lot of who the heck is Charvarius Ward? He's a guy who was fantastic last year in man-to-man coverage, something that we know that San Francisco 49ers love doing on third downs, which means you feel he's already a system and a scheme fit. You think he, at 25 years old, has the upside to be a cornerback one for you, not just potentially next year, but for years down the road. Because you do only have Emmanuel Moseley under contract for one more year. Will the Niners be willing to move off of Moseley, or are we going to see a Moseley extension here to free up some cap space, number one, but to lock down this cornerback room for a few more years? Because Emmanuel Moseley is only 26 years old. So you got young at the cornerback room.
I think the good news about Charvarius Ward is we know that he fits the scheme and he plays a lot of man coverage. I think those were things that the 49ers have been looking to get on their football team. So he fits in those ways. and he is an upgrade from Ambry Thomas playing last year. He's definitely better than Josh Norman. He's definitely better than Dante Johnson. So you're getting a good football player, and you had to have good corners because you're going against the Rams. It's probably going to be Robert Woods, OBJ, and Cooper Kupp, and that's tough to go against. So you have to make sure you have good football players. Charvarius Ward definitely adds to that, and he's going to add to the competition that's in that room. Ambry Thomas is going to have to step up. Ambry Thomas, maybe he could push Emmanuel Mosley, but I don't think so.
Do y'all want Andy? I was going to say, thank you, McCoy. I appreciate you getting rid of that because I was very confused about what you were trying to say there. But look, it's fine.
Yeah.
Need more than 4 lines at the bottom graphic for subscribers. Android user, you're not wrong. Today of all days is where we need to change the graphic to support all the people.
Clayton is right. Never want to see Josh Norman again.
That was ridiculous.
To quote Step Brothers, not even if there's a fire.
Not even if there's a fire.
Yeah, no, we definitely do not want to see Josh Norman. You know what I am, though? I'm appreciative of Josh Norman getting us through some of those football games that he got us through because we were in some trouble while they were preparing for Ambry Thomas to be ready to go.
It's true.
Him and Dante Johnson, even though they stressed the heck out of us and got way too many penalties, they got us through. So I'm appreciative of that, but yeah, you're right. I don't want to ever see him on the 49ers again. In fact, though, if he would like to go to the Rams, Cardinals, or Seahawks and be their starting cornerback, I'd very much like to see him twice a year that way.
Would absolutely love to see that twice a year. And no part of me is going to hate that. McCory, Andy Dalton, or Foles for a backup. I don't think you're going to get either. You paid $2 million to Nate Sudfeld. If you're going to bring in another quarterback, it's most likely through the draft.
Yeah, I think so. Unless one of these guys are going to come dirt cheap, I think the room is going to be set with Sudfeld, Trey Lance, and then probably a rookie draft pick.
Jim Thurlkill with a bold takes. Ronbo is better than Josh Norman.
Yep, you're right. Probably got a way nicer back pedal.
He does have a nicer back pedal.
He definitely has a better voice. Ronbo's voice is solid.
I love that. It's my favorite opening. It's my favorite thing that anyone doesn't open. I love our opening, right? It's 49ers Cutback Podcast, but nothing beats a to start an episode.
Agree to disagree.
I get jacked. I like Rombo. What can I say?
Rombo's cool.
Jay Ellie, lol, and we will resign number 27. You say his name, Jay Ellie.
Yeah, Jay Ellie's saying 27. That means you are a John Chapman listener. Well done. We do appreciate John Chapman. But yeah, Dante Johnson happens to be number 27.
And most likely he's going to end up back in San Francisco.
Probably.
There's a good chance.
There's a good chance he ends up being the 60th guy. So
don't say Josh Norman's name. Just don't do it, says Maurice. Munir. See, this is what I mean. This is what's nice about these conversations with the Cutback crews. You get everyone in a different spot. Munir, Ward is bad. He's not sold on this pick and this signing. We get it. Someone had mentioned earlier that PFF doesn't rate him in the top 100. This is true. This was Freak Stop. Ward isn't in PFF's top 100 cornerbacks. I
will say this. I don't care about PFF's rankings, but that's interesting.
It is interesting.
Because I just go on complete film, but the fact that he's not in the top 100 is actually very surprising. You would think he would be to be able to garner a $14 million a year contract.
It's true. This is actually a great question here. I don't actually know the answer to this. And Traffic says, what would happen come Wednesday if a team wasn't under the cap?
I believe they start losing draft picks and stuff, and they're
picks,
penalized,
right?
They're fined. Everyone makes it under. There's like these weird mythical ways that they get under, but they all figure out a way to do it.
How about the Niners? I can't believe there are teams out there that think Sudfeld is starting caliber quarterback. It's part of the reason why we think the Niners, that's the report, right, is that someone valued him as a starter, and so the Niners gave him $2 million. Jake Jackson, welcome to the Cutback crew as well. There are teams that are thinking that, especially if you're a team that's rebuilding. You may be looking at him and thinking there's something there that maybe you can do something with, and you take a chance. It's not going to cost you a whole heck of a lot of money. If it works out, great, and if it doesn't, you didn't really risk much.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know if I mean, it's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world.
I had full intentions when we made our video about the backup quarterback position. I thought they were going to go Tyrod Taylor or they were going to go Marcus Mariota. I really thought Tyrod Taylor fit perfectly. But then when they signed Sudfeld to the $2 million guaranteed,
true.
It definitely signaled to me that, you know what, we're going Nate Sudfeld. He's cheaper, but we feel confident in his abilities, at least to be a backup quarterback. And remember, when they're signing a backup quarterback, a lot of times, it's not to bring in a guy that they feel, can win a Super Bowl or win a lot of games. It's just to get by a couple of games until you get your starter back.
Absolutely, Ant. Absolutely. Shanahan also wanted Flacco last year. They considered it.
That is not wrong. They did bring him in. Yeah, I'm glad we ended up with Sudfeld. That was better. Yeah, but, you got to remember, Flacco was still a better option than Rosen. So looking at the quarterback position last year, Rosen was there. I mean, I know people thought he was going to be a starter, but there was just nothing there.
We didn't talk about Josh Rosen until he was out of time.
If we need more neck, we could bring in Mike Glennon.
Someone just said it, Ant.
Did they?
Andrew Hawk said Mike Glennon, please, is what he said. And I was literally going to go, we need a quarterback with a lot of neck. So I'm glad we're all on the same page.
Well done.
Andrew Hawks, absolutely fantastic, my guy. Almost like you're reading our minds over here. You're not secretly the editor, are you?
No.
He's shaking his head no. He's saying no. He's saying absolutely no. Hey, can you give us your opinion on Josh Rosen? Should we bring him back? We know at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
at the end of the episode.
We'll see. I see Clayton had a question too about Stephon Gilmore. I don't believe they're now in on just Stephon Gilmore. If the 49ers were still in on Stephon Gilmore and went Ward and Gilmore and moved Mosley to the slot, I mean, yeah, it would be crazy. But
Anthony Vera just asked that as well. By the way, great first name, Anthony.
Oh yeah, well done. I like that name. Now the question is though, would they really pay a secondary? Because Mosley's going to make 6.5. You're going to pay Charvarius Ward 14. Could they afford to pay $30 million to the cornerback position? I'm not sure they could. You already have Jimmy Ward getting a nice contract. He's going to make an upwards of $9 million. You don't even have a safety play next to him unless it's, Charvarius Moore. Well, that's going to be fun this year. Charvarius Ward and Tarvarius Moore. They're various guys in the backfield. But, yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm excited, but I am questioning if they're in on the Gilmore. I don't think so. I think if they were going to spend that money now, it would be edge rusher. You got Chandler Jones still out there. Zadarius Smith. I think those are targets. You could also go Dante Fowler or some of those other guys in that little bit of a second wave.
Absolutely. You're not wrong there. That absolutely 100% could be the case. And we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. We'll see what happens here. And Caleb, JLA, just let you know, your guy, Troy Apke, was re-signed. For those people who don't know, Troy Apke was Caleb's the people's quarterback in the Madden Cutback League over on Patreon. So he's a big fan. He did some crazy things with his roster. And almost went all the way. I guess we still got some things to find out there. You think we roll out with Banks and Brunskill at the guard position, says Carnbeer? Possibly. It could be the case. Carnbeer, let's freak you out a little bit. I'm going to let Ant say this because this is something Ant has floated out there, and it's something that 49ers fans need to brace for because it is 100% a possibility. Ant, take it away.
Yeah, I've been floating this out for about a week and a half now. There is a real possibility that the 49ers guards next year it's hard to even say it, could legitimately be Tom Compton and Daniel Brunskill. I think that's a possibility if Aaron Banks isn't ready. I think they hope Aaron Banks is going to be the guy. I think they'd like to slide him in. I think Brunskill will come back and compete with Jalen Moore, but there is an outside chance that the 49ers might bring back Compton and Brunskill to play guards. I know it's not what anyone wants to hear, but knowing how Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and these guys handle the offensive line spot and the interior offensive line, it's entirely possible.
That's true. Do you guys think we'll set our sights high on a mid-level edge rusher? Says Lou. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I mean, so who would be that mid? You got Melvin Ingram. You got
Justin Houston,
Dante Fowler. You got the other guy from the Bills. I'm sorry, Jerry Hughes. Those guys are all options, of course, of edge rushers that you could bring in to help your football team out.
Carnbeer, not Compton, man. I was surprised he made the roster last preseason. Carnbeer, we said this on our 53-man roster predictions. Yeah. We didn't expect Tom Compton to make it. In fact, when we went live and we're talking about the 53-man roster, it was one of the biggest surprises was that Tom Compton was on it. We didn't expect it. The move to right tackle made him very versatile.
It did. And in fact, we were there when they moved Tom Compton to right tackle.
We were at training camp.
And they moved not Mike McGlinchey, the other
Colton
McKivitz. There we go.
Gotcha.
The other Mick. When they moved him to left guard. And it was interesting because it's like, wait, what is Compton doing at right tackle? And then that was the trend the whole season, and Tom Compton ended up being the backup for Mike McGlinchey, and he played well enough. It definitely wasn't great, and sometimes he got put on his back, but I think he may have at least earned himself a chance to come back and compete. They're going to make Banks and Moore earn it. I would love it to be Banks and Moore, with Brunskill being the sixth guy.
That's the best.
Oh, I would love
That's the best world right now at this moment. It's definitely the best one. Prediction on the next free agency pickup. I've seen a couple people saying this. I've seen a couple people asking this and saying this.
I'm curious where you're going with this.
Has to be a wave 2 guy. At this point, based on what I've seen, I'm going to go with Dante Fowler Jr.
Okay, so it needs to be a player from not a 49er player.
I would say not a 49er.
Because I would normally say Raheem Mostert would be the next.
Raheem
guy.
Mostert makes sense as the next. Let's go with non-49ers player.
I'm gonna go with a receiver. So I'm gonna go with MVS.
Marquez Valdez.
I think they go with MVS. It's either MVS, Will Fuller, or John Ross. I think it's one of those speed guys.
Possibly.
I think MVS makes the most sense for the 49ers. Sure. A big receiver that can block. So yeah, you got to go with that.
Very well could be the case, Andy. It's something that you have to do. Is this the This Is Fine stream? You guys are like a dog sitting in the house burning down. No. This isn't a This Is Fine stream. This isn't a This Is Fine stream. We're not there yet, Android user. We're not there yet. How about the Niners? Thoughts on bringing on the Cardinals bringing the McCoy back? Solid backup for them last year, and he's only going to cost it's $6 million. His contract is $7 million over 2 years. $6 million of it is $6.5 million is guaranteed, and $6 million is being paid out, I think, in the first year.
For who's that?
For McCoy.
Okay.
So he's getting a good chunk of money to be the backup quarterback there for the Arizona Cardinals, but it's a good fit for them. He's a guy who's traveled a lot around the league, but has consistently won football games.
No, that was a solid move because
really
he did a really good job for them when Kyler went down. And you got to expect the way Kyler plays. I mean, it's probably going to happen again. I mean, nobody loses more yards on a sack than Kyler Murray.
That's accurate. In fact, that's the He's on Fire podcast, and Evan, who's over here when we do our Quest for the West episodes. His biggest complaint with Kyler Murray, he doesn't care that he takes sacks. He cares that he takes 12-yard sacks. Andy.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
He's also not a fan of Chandler Jones.
Okay, well, I am a fan of Chandler Jones. So I hope Chandler Jones wants to come to San Francisco and sack Kyler Murray.
Would love that.
Yeah.
For 12-yard losses.
Yeah, because they obviously can't double team him and Nick Bosa.
And
if they do, hello, Eric Armstead with a 15-sack season from the interior defensive line.
It's accurate. And we'll see if Marketing Pro retired. I think the dynasty is already over. I haven't seen Marketing Pro for a while.
Yeah.
We expect him to hop in over here, but who knows? Who knows? Who should the 49ers go for in the draft? Well, Jack, if you want to know more draft content, you're just going to have to stick around and wait a little bit. We got to cover free agency right now. We're going to focus all of our attention on that, but we are going to have tons of draft content that you're not going to want to miss out.
Yeah, I think we've been doing our research, and we've done a couple of live streams already where we talked about some of the draft picks that we like.
Absolutely.
But now post combine we had some movement from the players, but we're really waiting to see what the 49ers do, because now like the Niners signed Charvarius Ward, they're not in the cornerback market, at least not in a outside cornerback market, maybe a nickel guy.
Possibly.
So somebody like a Kyler Gordon would make sense.
Oh,
there you
Kyler
go.
Gordon.
There you go. But I like to throw things out there every once in a while, Alex. But I think that there's a lot of names that are going to be available for the 49ers, but we don't know where they're going to pick, and we also don't know who they need to pick, because if they get an edge rusher like Chandler Jones or one of these, Dante Fowler, they're obviously going to change the look of what they go after. They might not go after an edge rusher, but might go after a more interior defensive lineman to help replace DJ Jones.
Absolutely the case, and someone just asked, Brad Jones asked, how much money do we save if D Ford retires after June 1st? Well, there'll be a retirement settlement, right?
Yeah, it's not a lot, guys. I mean, it's really not. When it comes to D Ford, cutting him after June 1st, we save like $2.3 million. Retiring doesn't really help. It kind of just adds, we're going to have dead money either way. An actual way to save the most money is restructuring D Ford's contract. You save 2.9. You don't know if that $600,000 is that important to the 49ers. But I mean, it might be something they look into doing, actually restructuring D Ford, seeing what he potentially could do. If he can't do anything, then you cut him. You give him a training camp chance, and then you end up cutting him off your 90-man roster. Something similar to what they did to Jalen Hurd. Seeing if he was going to be able to get on the football field once he wasn't cutting ties. So we'll see. But the D Ford thing is very interesting. He restructured last year. There's a potential for a little bit of a restructure for some cap relief this year as well.
Absolutely. David Campbell, by the way, said #TCC. Glad to see you in the chat, David. And McCory said, why is everyone screaming for a pass rusher when Ebicom was fine after becoming a starter? I think for us, the idea here is that you can bring a guy in, and if you're not able to re-sign Arden Key, you can throw Samson Ebicom into the interior and have a nice four-man rotation there in their pass rushing situations with Armstead. You have a Minihue that you can throw in there into situations, but you can also mix in if it's Dante Fowler, if it's Chandler Jones, you can do a lot of different things with that front and do a lot of different pairings.
Yeah, because we like Samson Ebicom, but right now, everyone that was playing behind him, Arden Key, and what was the other guy? We got 94.
Jordan Willis,
thank you.
You.
Both of those guys are free agents, so neither one of them on the roster. So you're looking to improve, and one of the ways to improve your team is to make a guy that is a starter a depth piece. Because if he is, then that elevates the entire room. So, yeah, we like Samson Ebicom. We believe he could do a really good job with Nick Bosa, opposite of him. But if you were able to get an even more talented player playing those two guys together on obvious pass downs will be beneficial for both of them. So I think that the numbers for Ebukam would go up in that sort of situation. So I think this is something to monitor. But if it ends up being Samson Ebukam and they end up bringing back Jordan Willis and Arden Key, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm excited about that defensive rotation. Just be a little bit more excited if it was Chandler Jones and Samson Ebukam in those on the right side of the defensive line when Nick Bosa and Armstead are on the other.
I would absolutely love that. I'm not going to hate on that in any way at all whatsoever. Trade Jimmy G for a second and draft Tariq Woolen and Petit Frere in the round 2, says Carm Beer.
Do you think Tariq Woolen is going to be in the second round?
Nope.
I mean, he's a 6'4" guy that runs a 4.26 40.
He gone.
The question is too, is he also a cornerback?
One more.
I'm the only one you're going to probably hear this from.
Well, no, I tend to agree with you. SG Essentials, welcome to the Cutback.
Yeah,
group.
welcome, SG. I believe that he will eventually translate to a free safety. In fact, that's what I see him as with his coverage skills and everything. Dynamite athlete, but I think he can be an absolute all-pro free safety. But I don't know if somebody's going to value him at that. They might give him a run at corner first.
They might. They absolutely might do that. They may give him a run at corner, but we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what goes on. How about the Niners said Alec Pierce or Romeo Dobbs in the third round would be awesome. Speedy wide receiver options for Trey. Alec Pierce, as we've referred to him as Drake London Light in our draft combine recap. If you want to hear more about some of the guys that we liked or some of the guys that we thought elevated their value, go check that video out. The draft combine recap, we recap the entire combine, guys that we thought stood out as well. So if you want a better idea before we actually get into draft content on to where maybe we're leaning with certain guys, we did give a little peek behind the curtain at the guys we're looking at. That's a great video to get that information out of.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players in the draft. This is going to be an exciting draft. Free agency just opens the eyes of what the draft is going to look like because we're going to know the positions they need to target to get better. You're hoping they're going with limited needs. You have limited needs, you're able to draft the best available players. That's when your team really gets better. So I think that's what we're hoping coming out of free agency, but we don't know yet. And we do know now that cornerback is probably not going to be one of their main targets.
Very true. You just don't know that that's the case. You just don't know. I saw Jim had mentioned he saw the Niners were interested in Frank Clark. Frank Clark restructured his contract. He is going to be staying with the Kansas City Chiefs. So you don't have to worry about that trade anymore. William Maker Coffee, Kofe. I don't know how you pronounce it. Correct me in the comment section down below. Welcome to the Cutback crew.
Yeah.
Welcome,
William. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Ant, what an absolutely wild finish.
Yeah.
To day one. The day one of all of this crazy tampering period for free agency. Alex Kappa, I'm gonna put a cap, Ant. I'm gonna put a cap on there wasn't any tampering going on with that contract because there 100% was. He was definitely talking with them and getting that all finalized. That way, 5 seconds after the tampering period officially started, he could be.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things get worked out of the combine. You know, they have a pretty good idea of what they're going to do, the structuring of these deals. So they have an idea of what's going on. Back channels are definitely being worked. So you're getting some of these deals that happen real quick. That's what's going on. So I think this is normal. But I don't mind it. I like the free agent frenzy. I like all the craziness that happens, all the things we can talk about. Just watching these players go from team to team, I think it gives every single team optimism that their team can be that team this year. That's the same thing with the draft, right? You got all these young guys getting their dream, but really the fans are living through it as well because it's the opportunity that maybe this year is your year to go and win the Super Bowl. You know, maybe you're the Los Angeles Rams, maybe you're the Cincinnati Bengals, and you're going to turn everything around and get there.
Jim Foster, Rams will repeat.
Okay.
All right. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
Big shoes to fill. A lot of things to do.
They're a good football team.
That they are.
And to be the man, you have to beat the man.
You do have to beat the man.
So until they're beaten, they're going to be the Super Bowl champs. So that's good.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We're going to see what occurs here at Cutback Crew. We hope you enjoyed the live stream. If you did, hit the like button now. Share the video with the rest of the faithful as well and the rest of the Cutback Crew if they missed it. Listen, we got over 2,400 subs. We're rip rolling. We're ready to go. We're excited about all of the growth on the channel. We're really excited for what day 2 has in store. We're really excited as well, Ant, about just the channel, what we're trying to do. 2,800, that's the goal by draft. We want to get to 2,800. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Help us get there. Help continue this growth on the channel. Comment down below, like the video, share it as well.
Yeah, and Anthony, I don't want to leave your question undone.
What was it?
He said, "What's the next move?" I believe it's going to be a slot receiver. I believe it might be MVS, John Ross, or Will Fuller. And Alex believes it will be a defensive lineman, a mid-level defensive lineman, an edge rusher, in fact.
A potential Dante Fowler Jr.
There you go.
Maybe for the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to see as well. But all of the new members of the Cutback Crew, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate
Mr. Corey, as well.
Appreciate it, Mr. Corey. I'm subscribing. Lots of great comments tonight from you. Lots of great comments tonight from the day one OG Cutback Crew members. And listen, we thank all the new people who joined.
Yeah,
we welcome all of you in. It's absolutely
so
great. It's phenomenal. It's wonderful. But we also got to give a huge shout out to our day oneers. Like people who have been here since we were at 50 subs less than a year, like literally a year ago.
Yeah.
And we were just barely getting off the ground with this podcast. We cannot thank you enough. All of this growth is due to your support on this channel. You guys helping promote the content, you being involved, making it extremely exciting and fun for us to be here each and every day, putting content out consistently on this channel. We can't thank you enough.
Yeah, tell everyone that, just came here for the first time. Enjoy the ride. It's going to be a fun time. Everything you say is welcome here. And just join in with all the day ones. They're going to be very welcoming because everyone's opinion is welcome. We all just love 49ers and we love talking 49ers football. So this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to all the different opinions and personalities that are going to be in chat from now on.
Absolutely. Arnold Salazar just said Zadarius Smith, guys, is also there and available. We'll see what that money looks like.
I like it.
I would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
We'll see if the Niners are going to pay for it. Cutback Crew, though, listen, we'll catch you on the next one. For all the day wonders, if you missed the intro, enjoy it. We're going to give you the intro before we go to the outro. We'll catch you all for more breaking news. And Ant, I think it's about that time.
Yep. In honor of Scott Hall, RIP, man. This is going to be a tough one, but it's time to chalk another one up.
Catch y'all on the next one, TCC.
From the alley-oops at Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers cutback.